FC. WRL NTS Net nightly at 6:30 p.m. W5FC.
Congressman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is KF5PDS. My name is Billy, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control, that would be me, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.880 MHz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list, and remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, space exploration and space history, Was Up, Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and our 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to my alternate net control, Tom, KE5ICX, if you will do the check-in honors, please.
Very good. Thank you, Miss Billy. And this is KE5ICX. I'm going to go ahead and take check-ins. I've already got one over on the Facebook stream, KD5RKO, Andrew over, as I said, on Facebook. I don't know where exactly he is, but he is on the net. I will take low-power short-time check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Let me know if you're low-power short-time.
Number 5, Hotel Yankee Papa, Tom and Irving, just listening.
Okay, I've got N5 KA5HYP, Tom in Irving, just listening. I guess he's super low powered. It's okay, Tom. I hope you got your antennas up. You sound pretty good tonight. So we'll go ahead and go to a regular check-in. We've already done our irregular check-in. So regular check-ins, please come now. Or general check-ins, please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. Here we go.
This is N5BB, November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill in Irving. Andrews is also, I believe, in Irving. He's a proud member of the Irving Amateur Radio Club. And Tom, you again have your speech compressor or whatever it is turned on, which means we hear a lot of echoes and everything. You need to go back to a regular audio system. Sorry, N5BB.
Okay, Bill. Well, I don't know what to say. I'll have to check it later. I haven't checked. I haven't changed anything, so maybe I'll come on early and ask how it all sounds. I'll take additional, but I appreciate it, Bill. There's no other way I would know. So I'll take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from.
November 5, Whiskey Yankee. This is Joe in Dallas, N5WY.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Tango Sierra Kilo, Burl in Dallas. Golf 5, Papa, KG5P, Mike in Richardson.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda and DeSoto.
Oh, Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Kilo, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
Let me get those check-ins, and then I'll take another round. I've got N5WY, Joe in Dallas, NT5TM, Tony, Dallas, KF5TSK, Burl and Surprise, Dallas, KG5P, Mike in Richardson. That's okay, you're in Richardson. WB50ZL, Miss Brenda DeSoto, KF5ZBL, Bill in Farmers Branch. K5WVL, James in Carrollton. I should know, James. Did I get it right, or did I miss a letter?
You got that, Tom. KG5WVL.
All right, thanks. I was about 90% sure. I thought, oh, I can't remember. There may be an extra letter in there. Gotcha. K5WVL and AA5AH. I'll take additional check-ins over air. Please come with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from.
This is SAS 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz in Mesquite. This is Kilo Bravo 5, Uniform November Zulu, Max in Fort Worth.
Kilo Mike 5, Dallas.
Okay, I got 2.5 more in there. Let me go ahead and list who I have. I've got KF5JHA, Chaz Mesquite. I've got Kilo Bravo 5 Uniform November Zulu. That's Max in Fort Worth. And then I got a Kilo Mike 5 call in Dallas. You dropped out. I missed your full call and your name. Please come again.
Kilo Mike 5, Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
Very good. KM5L. I know that guy, Patrick in Dallas. Okay, I got you checked in with your full call. I'll go ahead and move over to Echolink now. I see some folks saying hi. I'll take Echolink. If you'd like to join us by voice on Echolink, please come now with your call sign name and where you're transmitting from. If you don't have a microphone, just type in that you are there, and I will make sure that you are checked in. Echolink only. Please come now. I'll give you extra time.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Tango Hotel Bravo, Brent in Henrietta. No traffic, back to net.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu, Whiskey J, near Weatherford.
Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey, John in Norman, Oklahoma.
Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, Joe in Arlington.
Okie dokie, I got KF5THB, Brent over in Henrietta, KG5BZW, Jay near Weatherford, K5JDW, John in Norman, and I got KG5ZMG, Joe over in Arlington, all the usual suspects. I'll go ahead and open it up to anyone who would like to check in, any stragglers, any mode. Please come now with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from.
Straggler checking in, WT9V, Michael in Plano.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Delta Echo Bravo, Jason in Plano.
Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
All right, we've got on this round WT9V, Michael in Plano, K5DEV, Jason also in Plano, wave at Michael, KG5AP, Patrick in Dallas. Okay, we will be back later on for additional check-ins. That's pretty good. We got 23 check-ins on that first round. Not too shabby. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Great. Thank you very much, Tom, and welcome all who checked in to Skynet and popped over to Facebook, and welcome to those folks over there. And I love your sweater, Tom. It looks very festive. So you definitely want to go check out Facebook and the video stream. It's awesome. So let's get started with general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. If you have an announcement, please come now with your call sign.
November
NT5TM. Tony, good evening. What announcements do you have for us this evening?
Thank you, Billy. I'd like to encourage everyone to review the TechNet announcements over at w5fc.org. Don't forget that we do have another net coming up tonight at 10:30, the Afterglow movie discussion, and a net coming up this Monday at 7, the GeekNet. And of course, a very important event coming up this Thursday, Turkey Trot. I hope you signed up for Turkey Trot, but even if you haven't, walk-ins will be welcome. Besides all those good events and nets coming up, the Dallas Marathon will be taking place on December 15th, and they are still in need of communicators. This event is like D-Day. It involves a number of amateur radio clubs, not just Dallas or Garland or Irving or Mesquite, but pretty much all of us working together, and they do need more people. So if you head over to w5fc.org and look at the last TechNet news post, you'll see a link to the volunteer sign-up form. They would love to have your help. So I hope to hear you tonight on the net and later tonight on the Afterglow movie and even Monday on GeekNet. See you at Turkey Trot and see you at the Marathon. It's a very busy season. We have a lot of fun we can have. NT5PM.
All right, thank you, Tony. Does anybody else have any announcements? If so, please come now with your call sign. All right, not hearing any others, so I'll go ahead with a few announcements of my own. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You'll need Echolink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. The Dallas AMSAT net, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.140 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9 and a positive offset. The DARC has several nets on Monday nights. First Monday of the month is Ham Fixin's net. If you enjoy recipes, we share recipes, cooking tips, questions about food, anecdotes, you name it. If it's about food, we'll share it. There's some really yummy recipes that come across Ham Fixin's net. The second Monday of the month is MCOM 101, Emergency Communications. Third Monday, pop on over for another second helping of Ham Fixin's net. And as Tony mentioned, fourth Monday is GeekNet. We typically share things like news of the weird, talk about geeky books, movies, you name it, great brain teasers. So pop on over on Monday for GeekNet. And in the event that there's a fifth Monday, there's usually a fifth Monday surprise net, which happens, every so often. We get together and play several rounds of Jeopardy, or we've done Christmas Thunderdome, which people talk about their best and worst Christmas presents, Truth or Lies April Fools, and I believe there was a Build Your Own Short Story Round Robin, one surprise net. So it's always a pleasant surprise on the fifth Monday surprise net. And those nets all start at 7 o'clock. On Saturdays, the Night of Nets with TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m. and, of course, at 9 p.m., Skynet. And as Tony mentioned, at 10:30 we have the Afterglow Movie Net, which is where we pick a movie on the net and then watch it during the week, and then the next Saturday night we discuss it. So join us for the Afterglow Movie Net. You'll hear more about that shortly. The ARRL Net, National Traffic System Training Net, is every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and all are welcome to check in on any or all of those nets. And as I mentioned, after Skynet is the Afterglow Movie Net. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll give us tonight's Afterglow info.
Well, thank you, Miss Billy. Thank you for doing the net this evening as NCS, and this is KE5ICX. The phone rang again, and Adama answered. Hello? We would like to offer you a wonderful opportunity for a retirement home on Caprica. You and your family will enjoy the luxury of condo living in a gated community with people you feel comfortable with. Adama gave the order. The Galactica jumped into hyperspace and away from the robo-caller. It would be another 33 minutes before they would find him and call with yet another offer. The Galactica was pushed further and further into deep space. Join us for the next crappy TV series? Well, not so crappy. Battlestar Galactica, the very first episode from the series. By the way, this episode was solicited to the sci-fi people, and it greenlit the series. Not the movie, not the miniseries, this episode. So join us this evening at 10:30 p.m. If you want additional information, you can go to After School Movie, that's 2 words, on Facebook, and you can find the link there. This is KE5ICX, back to net control.
Great, thank you, Tom. This is KFI-PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up we have Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. So at this time, we'll call on anyone that has information about the Texas Astronomical Society. So if you do, please come now with your call sign.
Yeah, 5 JHA.
KF5JHA, Chaz, our resident professional astronomer. How are you doing this evening, and what announcements do you have for us?
Hey, how's everyone doing? Hey, I'm doing great. The Ohio State University is still undefeated. We just have that land up north to take care of next week, and then we're going to the championship games. So anyway, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas has meetings on the 4th Friday of each month. The meetings are held at the University of Texas at Dallas. It's at 7:30, but usually we have something going on at 7 o'clock. About every other month we talk about our dark side up in Oklahoma, and then we have every other night, I should say every other meeting, we talk about some aspect of amateur astronomy for newbies. So please come at 7:30 or come a half hour early to get some more information about the Texas Astronomical Society. It's held at UTD in the Science Learning Center in the lecture hall on the first floor. Park in the yellow or orange parking spaces, otherwise you might get a ticket. Also, we have observing sessions on almost every Saturday night somewhere in the Metroplex. The first Friday of each month, it's the Garland Spring Park Stargazer Star Party. That's going to be held, the next one's on December the 7th. Frisco Starfest is held on the second Saturday of each month. The next one's going to be on December the 14th. That's at Frisco Commons Park in Frisco, of course. Cedar Hill Starbolt is held on the third Saturday of each month. The next one will be December the 21st. And Stars on a Rock is on the fourth Saturday of each month, and that's in the Shores Park in Rockwall. I was wondering if there's anybody out there at the Shores, at Stars on the Rock, that would like to give a report of what's going on out there right now. But it has cleared off, and I was hoping we could get a report about what was being observed. Early in the evening, if you didn't get to see it, Jupiter and, there were a couple of planets close by together, not Jupiter, but I think it was Venus and something else. We'll talk about that later on in my segment. So we'll talk about that and maybe some other things you can see in the nighttime sky then as well. Does anybody have any questions or need any fills about what's going on with the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas? Okay, just to let you know, there's no meeting in December. There's going to be an event, an awards banquet on December the 14th, and I believe information about that is on the website, texasastro.org. So detailed information about anything I talked about, you can find at that website. Thank you so much, Billy. Back to Net Control. This is KF5JHA.
Thank you, Chaz. And it's good to hear that there's going to be an awards banquet. That's exciting news. This is KF5CDS, Billy, your net control for the session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up we have National Space Society events and activities. So at this time I'll turn to Bill, N5BB, to find out what information you can give us about National Space Society.
This is N5BB with information about National Space Society and manned spacecraft in general, or space vehicles in general. The National Space Society normally meets on the second Sunday of every month, but we skip the December meeting on that day and instead have a private party at a member's house. So do not try to attend at the Spring Creek Barbecue in December because we will not be there. However, the January meeting will be held at the normal location, Spring Creek Barbecue, the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline in Irving, on Sunday afternoon, January the 12th. That's the second Sunday in January, starting at 3:30 p.m. No meeting subject known yet. So, other news. The National Space Society North Texas chapter will be sponsoring the International Space Development Conference. This is a yearly event that's held at various locations. This upcoming year, in 2020, it's being held in Frisco, north side of the DFW Metroplex. It will be on May the 28th through the 31st. That's May 28th through 31st in Frisco at a hotel. And this is the International Space Development Conference. And there will be a number of exciting panelists and other people that will be there. Celebrities, let's put it that way. I don't have the list in front of me. But that is coming up here in the middle of 2020. Other space news. Well, Elon Musk has had two failures in the last week. One of them you may have heard about was trying to show off his new fancy electric pickup truck, and they say the windshield is bulletproof, and they dropped this heavy metal ball on it, and it broke. And I think they tried it a second time, and it broke again. So that's one failure. The other failure, unfortunately, was his SpaceX Mark I spaceship was partially destroyed during a max pressure tank testing. This is the liquid oxygen tank ruptured along the weld line of the craft's steel structure, propelling the bulkhead up into the air above the spaceship. And the upper bulkhead went airborne to some significant altitude and landed some distance away. the Mark 1 was not really going to go forward anyway, so they're abandoning that structure and going with their Mark 2 and Mark 3 designs. There were multiple teams working on these, so they've got a parallel team at SpaceX. This is all part of the Starship design that's going to be able to take astronauts and cargo to the moon and beyond. Anyway, this test was in South Texas at their facility down there. So, unfortunately, a few setbacks for SpaceX, but they weren't going to use that design anyway. Boeing had a good test on November the 4th of their CST-100 Starliner. It wasn't perfect, but they called it a success. They were doing an abort test and on the pad at White Sands Missile Range, and one of the parachutes failed to deploy, but they still brought it down safely, so they're calling it a success and moving forward. So that is Boeing for their CST-100 Starliner. The other group working on spacecraft in the United States for manned missions is the Lockheed Martin Orion Group, which is under development with NASA and the ESA and the Space Launch System kind of rocket. And the Artemis 1 is supposed to be the first flight of this Space Launch System. And I'm trying to figure out what the date is. I can't remember exactly. Anyway, right now their test, recent tests have been working out pretty good, and so they're doing pretty good on their plans for their missions. They think that Artemis 1 will be an uncrewed Orion lunar flyby launching on the Space Launch System rocket between 2020 and 2021. So, that's the official NASA system going to the Lunar Gateway, which is planned to have amateur radio equipment on the way to the moon. Lunar Gateway will be a space station going around the moon, which is scheduled for just a few years from now. So, we have three groups working on getting large cargo and humans up into space from the United States, and both of them are working out pretty well. That's all I've got for now in 5BB. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Bill, and it's good to hear you. We've missed you the past few weeks, so welcome back. So this is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is NCS topic of the evening. So my topic tonight is the Great White Spot on Saturn. We've all heard about the Great Red Spot on Jupiter, but have you ever heard about the Great White Spot on Saturn? So this information is an article in Wikipedia that you can look up under Great White Spot. So the Great White Spot, also known as the Great White Oval on Saturn, named by analogy to Jupiter's Great Red Spot, are periodic storms that are large enough to be visible from Earth through a telescope by their characteristic white appearance. The spots can be several thousands of kilometers wide. The Cassini orbiter was able to track the 2010-2011 instance of the storm, also known as the Northern Electrostatic Disturbance, because of an increase in radio and plasma interference, or the Great Springtime Storm. Cassini data has revealed a loss of acetylene in the white clouds, an increase of phosphine, and an unusual temperature drop in the center of the storm. After the visible aspects of the storm subsided in 2012, a belch of heat and ethylene was emitted from two hot spots that merged. The phenomenon is somewhat periodic at 28.5-year intervals when Saturn's northern hemisphere tilts most toward the Sun. And the following is a list of recorded sightings. In 1876, observed by Asaph Hall, he used the white spots to determine the planet's period of rotation. In 1903, it was observed by Edward Barnard. 1933, it was observed by Will Hay, comic actor and amateur astronomer, and until recent times, this was the most celebrated observation. In 1960, it was observed by J.H. Botham in South Africa. In 1990, it was observed by Stuart Wilbur from September 24th through November. In 1994, it was studied by ground-based observers in the Hubble Space Telescope. In 2006, it was observed by Eric Bondu and Jean-Luc Dauvergne. And in 2010, it was first observed by Anthony Wesley and photographed by the Cassini Space Probe 2010-2011. That none were recorded before 1876 is a mystery, in some ways akin to the long observational gap of the Great Red Spot in the 18th and early 19th centuries. The 1876 Great White Spot was extremely prominent, being visible in apertures as small as 60 millimeters. It is not known if the earlier record was simply poor or if the 1876 Great White Spot was truly a first for the telescopic era. Some believe that neither scenario is likely. In 1992, Mark Kidger described 3 significant Great White Spot patterns. The Great White Spots alternate in latitude, with one apparition being limited to the North Temperate Zone or higher, and the following being limited to the equatorial zone. For instance, the 1960 Great White Spot was high latitude, and the 1990 Great White Spot was equatorial. The high latitude Great White Spots recur at a slightly shorter interval than the equatorial Great White Spots, at about 27 years versus about 30 years for the equatorial. The high latitude Great White Spots tend to be much less prominent than their equatorial counterparts. Based on these apparent regularities, in 1992, Kidger forecasted incorrectly, given the 2010-2011 storm, that the next Great White Spot would occur in the North Temperate Zone in 2016 and would probably be less spectacular than the 1990 Great White Spot. Though computer modeling had by the early 1990s suggested that these massive atmospheric upwellings were caused by thermal instability, in 2015, 2 Caltech planetary scientists proposed a more detailed mechanism. The theory is, as Saturn's upper atmosphere undergoes seasonal cooling, it first gets less dense as the heavier water rains out, passes a density minimum, and then gets more dense as the remaining hydrogen and helium continue to cool. Low-density upper layer gases tend to suppress convection, but high-density upper layers are unstable and cause a thunderstorm when they break into lower layers. The theory is that the storms are significantly delayed from the winter solstice due to the time it takes for the very large atmosphere to cool. The team proposes that similar storms are not seen on Jupiter because that planet has less water vapor in its upper atmosphere. Saturn's rings block the view of the northern hemisphere from Earth during the winter solstice, so historical data on the Great White Spot is unavailable during this season, but the Cassini Space Probe has been able to observe the whole planet since it arrived shortly after the winter solstice in 2004. So there's some information about the Great White Spot on Saturn. This is KF5PDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, at this time, we need to call on Tom, KE5ICX. I have a question. There's some conflicting info as to who's to do the next segment. One place says Tony, another place says Brenda and Kelly alternate. Guess you didn't see the chat window, so if you would please respond and let me know who I should hand the net over to next. This is KF5PDS to KE5ICX.
All right, thank you, Miss Billy. Brenda, WB50ZL, she's stepping up and alternating with Miss Kelly, K5KTX. So Brenda, WB50ZL, has the space exploration and space history this evening, KE5ICX.
Great, thank you, Tom, for that clarification. So at this time, I will turn the net over to Brenda, WB50ZL, for space exploration and space history. Brenda, the net is yours.
Thank you. This is WB50ZL. Astronauts performed a spacewalk surgery to repair cosmic ray detector. 2 astronauts have completed surgery outside the International Space Station, slicing small metal tubes as part of the efforts to repair a state-of-the-art cosmic ray detector. Expedition 61 crewmates Luca Palmitano of the ESA and Drew Morgan with NASA ventured outside of the space station on Friday, November 22nd, for a 6-hour and 33-minute extravehicular activity, or EVA. The excursion continued to work. They began 1 week ago to replace the failing cooling system for the $2 billion alpha magnetic spectrometer. The science instrument, which was installed on the space station in 2011, needs new coolant so it can continue capturing high-energy cosmic rays in order to reveal the nature of antimatter, dark matter, and dark energy. This week, we celebrated Edwin Hubble's birthday. Well, that was November 18th. He was born in 1889. Few astronomers will ever be honored as highly as Edwin Hubble. Born 130 years ago this week, Hubble determined in the 1920s that the so-called spiral nebulae were actually independent galaxies, not simply parts of our own Milky Way, a discovery that increased our estimate of the size of the universe. Hubble also discovered that most galaxies were speeding away from each other, a phenomenon we now know to be caused by the Big Bang. Today, his legacy of discovery is honored by a namesake, the Hubble Space Telescope, the largest optical telescope ever placed in orbit, and the one responsible for more discoveries than almost any other scientific instrument in history. This also November 18th was the birthday of Alan Shepard Jr. He was an American astronaut, naval aviator, test pilot, and businessman. In 1961, he became the first American to travel into space, and in 1971, he walked on the moon. A graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Shepard saw action with the surface Navy during World War II. He became a naval aviator in 1946 and a test pilot in 1950. He was selected as one of the original NASA Mercury 7 astronauts in 1959, and in May 1961, he made the first crewed Project Mercury flight, Mercury Redstone 3, and his spacecraft he named Freedom 7. His craft entered space, but was not capable of achieving orbit. He became the second person and the first American to travel into space, and the first space traveler to manually control the orientation of his craft. This is WB50ZL. November 19th, Apollo 12 lands on the moon in 1969. It was the 6th crewed flight of the United States Apollo program and the second to land on the moon. It was launched on November 14, 1969, from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, 4 months after Apollo 11. Commander Charles P. Conrad and Apollo lunar module pilot Alan Bean performed just over 1 day and 7 hours of lunar surface activity, while command module pilot Richard F. Gordon remained in lunar orbit. An international team has found sugars essential to life in meteorites. The new discovery adds to the growing list of biologically important compounds that have been found in meteorites, supporting the hypothesis that chemical reactions in asteroids, the parent bodies of many meteorites, can make some of life's ingredients. If correct, meteorite bombardment on ancient Earth may have assisted the origin of life with a supply of life's building blocks. The Aztec Sat-1 investigation demonstrates communication between a CubeSat and the Global Star constellation satellite network in low Earth orbit. Such communication could reduce the need for ground stations, lowering the cost and increasing the number of data downloads possible for satellite applications. Intersatellite communication is critical to future human space exploration. Its reduced cost and increased data capability could also improve many satellite-based services used by people on Earth. The CubeSat will be deployed from the International Space Station's Japanese experiment module airlock. This is the first CubeSat built by students in Mexico that will launch from the space station. All right, that's all I got. This is WB5OZL, back to net.
Great, thank you, Brenda. This is KF5PDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, this time I'll call on Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll see if we have any additional check-ins, and then after that, I'll give you permission to turn the net directly over to Chaz for his Was Up segment. So this is KF5PDS to KE5ICX.
Thank you, Ms. Billy, and I'll do exactly that. This is KE5ICX. I'm an alternate net control station for tonight's Skynet. I'll take additional check-ins. If you're out there and you haven't checked in, it's time that you did so now. Please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Please come now.
D4GNQ, Whiskey Delta 4, Delta November, Quebec. And I'm in Plano, Texas tonight. Over.
Golf Lima Delta, Randy Rowlett.
Golf 5, Uniform Kilo Uniform, David Mesquite.
Fizz. November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William and Allen.
All right, I got 4 more here. The first station I've got is out of Plano, Whiskey Delta 5, Delta November, Quebec. Could I get your name, please, sir?
Yes, this is Whiskey Delta 4, Delta November, Quebec. And my name is James, and I'm here visiting a friend of mine here in Plano. I'm using his rig tonight. I said my name is James, and it's WD4GNQ, back to net.
Oh, very good. I've got WD4DNQ James in Plano. And by the way, James, put a little note when you head back to Foreland. Join us over on Echolink. This is a local net, yes, but we do have connection using Echolink. And the repeater you're on is Whiskey 5 Fried Chicken, W5FC in Dallas. Next I got K5GLD. That's Randy in, what did I write down? Oh, Rowlett, I think. I'm not sure what I wrote down. It could be Dallas or Rowlett, or it could be Houston. I messed up. Randy, where are you from?
K5GLD, Randy Rowlett.
All right, thanks. I got it mostly right. I think I got the next station really quick, and I didn't finish Rowlett. I write as fast as I can. I got KG5, UKU, David in Mesquite, welcome, and N5WOI, William over in Allen, one of our regulars. Let's see, anybody over in Echolink? I'll take Echolink if you're there. I'll give you extra time. Please come down.
This is November 5. Yankee, Echo, Oscar, Steve, San Antonio.
I'm going through the list here. I think everybody else is there. I've got N5YEO, Steve in San Antonio. Got you checked in on Echolink. All right, it is time for What's Up, which has KF5JHA, a professional astronomer but an amateur radio operator. How does he manage that? Chaz, KF5JHA, I have permission from Net Control. You're next. Go ahead. The net is yours.
Thank you, Billy. Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree is in astrophysics, and I work at Brookhaven Community College. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up. Remember that Skynet's not only available on the Dallas repeater, 146.88 megahertz with a private line tone of 110.9, just as Tom was telling our visiting ham radio operator to the area, we are also on Echolink. And most weeks, Skynet also has a video component, too. You can find those video components, the links to them, on w5fc.org website. So with radio, Echolink, and video, I see that Skynet is 3D. But our friend Tony, NT5TM, I don't think I heard him on here tonight. He says we're in 4D because we use the dimension of time. And by the way, what goes on in the chat window in Echolink and what's being done on the video might not have anything to do with what we're talking about on the radio. So to get the full 4D version of Skynet, you must be monitoring all three areas at the same time. I gave you homework last week. Did you do it? Did you go out looking for Venus after sunset? For the last couple of weeks, I've been catching views of Venus low in the southwest. Last Saturday and Sunday, I watched Venus edge closer to Jupiter. Tuesday evening was the last evening you could have seen the pair until tonight, because it's been cloudy ever since. Tonight, did you go out and see it? They were pretty close together. I told you about this earlier on, about these two planets getting close together. Okay, even if you have observed Venus and Jupiter over this last week, I want you to try it again over the next 2 weeks. First, you'll need a southwestern sky that allows you to see clear down to the horizon. The sun sets around 5:20 p.m. Central Standard Time this week in the DFW area. by around 5:35 or so, start looking for the object that doesn't move quickly, not like an airplane, but rather an object that just gets a little bit closer to the horizon over a few minutes. If you have a pair of binoculars, take a look at that object. You won't see any flashing lights on it like an airplane would have. This non-flashing object should be the planet Venus, and beside it is Jupiter. And right now, Jupiter is going to be closer to the horizon than Venus, starting now. So tonight and tomorrow night, Venus will be close to the planet Jupiter in the sky. But every night afterwards, Venus will get further from Jupiter. In a couple of weeks from now, on the night of December the 10th, Venus and Saturn will be in conjunction. In other words, they'll be right next to each other. So watch Venus move away from Jupiter over the next couple of weeks and get closer to Saturn. I find the dance of the planets really fascinating. December the 20th, the year 2020, that's about 13 months from now, Saturn and Jupiter will be so close together that they will appear as one object in the sky with just your unaided eyes. Through a telescope, you'll be able to see both planets and their moons in a single field of view. I'll cover this event and much more on my preview of the year 2020 astronomical events during, I believe, next week's Skynet, because I think I'm net control. We should see things a lot more clearly next year since it is the year 2020. And I am KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Now, going outside tonight, right now, it's clear, and it was clear the last time I looked out, the constellation Pegasus is almost directly overhead. The great square of Pegasus is the main body of the flying horse. One way some astronomers determine light pollution levels and the transparency of the sky conditions by counting how many stars they can see inside the great square Pegasus. The neck of Pegasus stretches out toward the west, and the tip of the nose is a double star called Enough. And that is not enough. Because there's a globular cluster, M15, just off the nose of Pegasus. So I guess this is Enough of the constellation. Lines of stars coming off the northeastern corner of the great square Pegasus represents Andromeda, the beautiful daughter of Cepheus and Cassiopeia. Just above the northern line of the stars in Cassiopeia can be found one of the closest large galaxies to our Milky Way, the Andromeda Galaxy, also known as M31. In the countryside, away from the city lights, you can see this galaxy. A galaxy is a faint, fuzzy patch of light with just your two eyes, without any aid of a pair of binoculars or a telescope. But with a pair of binoculars reveals an oval shape of fuzzy patch in the sky. Telescopes can reveal details in the structure of the galaxy, as well as two other galaxies in that same area. To the south of Pegasus, you can spot a circlet of stars. It's a faint one, but you need to be away from the city lights. You can easily see it. It's part of the constellation of Pisces. Pisces is supposed to represent a couple of fish caught in a net. Sounds fishy to me. Here's one of the constellations of the Zodiac. The Zodiac are the 13 constellations of stars that are the background for the path of the sun, the moon, and the planets. Last week I talked about the planet Uranus being in the constellation of Aries, close to the border of Pisces. And back in November of 1985, Halley's Comet trek through the sky took it through part of Pisces and right in between the circlet of Pisces and the great square Pegasus. That was when I started to study about Pisces and the great square in a little bit more detail. Now, of course, right now I'm only 16, so don't try to do any math here. I am KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. The moon was at its third quarter phase on November the 19th, so tonight the moon's phase is a waning crescent. It will be at its new phase on November the 26th, and the moon will be at its first quarter phase on December the 4th. Now, November has been an active time for meteor showers. A couple of minor meteor showers and a major meteor shower have already occurred, and one more minor meteor shower is to come. On the night of November 27th, 28th, the November Orionids peak with just a few meteors per hour. Now, December is also an active month for meteors. The Phoenicians, after the constellation of Phoenix, is a minor meteor shower that peaks on the night of December the 2nd and 3rd, but it's mainly seen from the southern hemisphere. But the Geminid meteor shower is a major meteor shower that peaks on the night of December 13th to 14th, with as many as 150 meteors per hour. Unfortunately, the moon is full on December 11th and won't interfere with the observing of the Geminids this year. Details about meteor showers and meteor storms can be found online at the American Meteor Society, amsmeteors.org, or by going to the International Meteor Organization website, imo.net. I am KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Now, don't forget that the Texas Astronomical Society has telescopes set up somewhere in the Metroplex on almost every Saturday night. Check their website, texasastro.org, for details. I didn't hear anybody from Rockwell earlier. I doubt that they're out there still, because they've been out, if they've been out there for maybe 6 hours looking at the sky. So early today. Now, do any of you have any questions for me? I'll let you think about this for a minute, because I have a question for you first. What do you call a turkey on the run? A moment to think about it. Oh, I see JJ's on Echo Link now. Maybe he would have the answer. So what do you call a turkey on the run? Give up? Fast food. Okay, do any of you out there in radio have any questions or need a fill on any of the information I've given you, or do you just have a general astronomy question? I don't know everything, but I might know the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or a comment.
Kilo Golf 5 Papa with a question.
I am so glad that you're here. So, I love to listen to your questions. Please, inform us. What is this question you have?
Yes, thank you, Chaz. I'm dying to know the answer to this question. The question is, where do planets download their music from? Where do planets download music from?
The question is, where do planets download their music from? Well, there's always iTunes. Maybe it's Neptune? I don't know. Where do they get their music from?
You're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Have a cigar. KG5P.
Oh, I got one right this time. All right, so as the moon wanes during the last half of November, so do these words. So until next time, keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5JHA, back to our net control. Billy, help me out.
Great. Thank you, Chaz. Always a good time on What's Up. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up, I believe instead of a constellation, we have a topic of the week. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Mike, KG5P. Please bring us your topic.
Okay, thank you, Billy. It's KG5P. What I'd like to talk about is what happens if you fall into a black hole. Now, there's been movies and stuff on event horizons and black holes and stuff, and they usually get it wrong. So my source is Paul M. Sutter, who's an astrophysicist. He's at Ohio State right now. He's a visiting scholar. He's got a blog out there called Ask a Spaceman, and he got his bachelor's degree, and then he went straight to his doctorate at UC Berkeley. Skipped the master's and graduated with summa cum laude and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so here's what Paul M. Sutter says if you fall into a black hole. Okay, we'll assume that you've traveled tens of thousands of light years beyond the solar system, and you want to stick your head into a giant black hole to see what's on the other side of the event horizon. What will you find inside? Well, first, we need to clear up some definitions. And we really do, because these are concepts that we have nothing like that in our worlds here on Earth, where we have forces and we have phenomena that we see nothing like it here on Earth. So it's very difficult to relate to. How do you wrap your head around infinity and infinite density and things like that? And that's what these guys think about. So, first of all, there are many different kinds of black holes. There are big ones, there's some small ones, some have electric charges, some don't, some have rapid rotations, others don't. What we're going to talk about here is the simplest possible scenario, a giant black hole with no electric charge and no spin whatsoever. Now, this is really unrealistic, but it's still a lot of cool physics to talk about. So, from a distance, the black hole is surprisingly benign. After all, it's just a massive object, pretty much like any other mass-safe object. Gravity is gravity and mass is mass. And we'll see a black hole that has the mass of the sun will pull you in exactly the same as the sun itself. The only thing that's missing is the radiation. But if you could orbit a black hole or it has the mass the size of the sun, you certainly could. Is what's called a singularity, and this is where my brain starts to fall apart. A singularity is a point of infinite density. That means because it's shrouded with what's called an event horizon. We generally consider this the surface of the black hole, but to go further, you must pass through the event horizon. Okay, the event horizon is not a real physical boundary. It's not a membrane, it's not a surface. It's simply defined as a particular distance from the singularity. The distance where you would fall below this point is the event horizon, and if you fall below that point, you can't get out. Okay, I'm going to talk about Karl Schwarzschild. He was a German physicist who died in 1916. He was an astronomer, and he was also the father of another physicist, Martin Schwarzschild. But Schwarzschild provided the first exact solution to one of Einstein's field equations. Others have been solved since then, but he did the first one. These are Einstein's field equations of general relativity. But he did this for the very limited case of a simple spherical non-rotating mass, and he did this in 1915. Unfortunately, he got drafted into the German army during World War I and died a year later from an autoimmune disease. But he derived this Schwarzschild radius while he was actually as an artillery lieutenant in the German army. The radius is an object that's proportional to its mass. Now, if the sun were shrunk down to a radius of approximately 3 kilometers, how far it is across, maybe halfway across Richardson, the sun would become a black hole. If you took the Earth and shrunk it down to about 9 millimeters, which is a rifle bullet, hole. And if you took the moon and shrunk that down to about 1/10 of a millimeter, which is, grain of sand size, the moon would become a black hole. The observable universe has a mass, or its mass has a Schwarzschild radius of approximately 13.7 billion light years. Now, that's quite interesting in itself because the universe is 13.7 billion years old. So all these things are related. Exactly how, I'm not really sure. So, this Schwarzschild radius is the distance from singularity, this point of infinite density where all this mass is compressed, where the gravitational pull is so extreme that nothing, not even light itself, can escape from the black hole. If you were to fall below this boundary and wanted to return, then too bad for you. As hard as you try to fire your rockets, you would find yourself no further from the singularity. You're trapped, basically. But not instantly. You will have a few minutes to see what's going on below. And how long it takes depends on the mass of the black hole. For a real large black hole, millions of times bigger than the sun, you might have a few seconds. But you will hit the singularity. You don't have a choice. Horizon, nothing can stay still. You're compelled to move. Outside the black hole's event horizon, you can move in any direction in space as you please. You can move up, left, to the right, a little bit of both, or neither. The choice is yours. But no matter where you go in space, you must always travel into your future. You cannot simply escape from inside the event horizon of a black hole. And this common sense understanding breaks down. The single point of singularity lies only in your future. You must travel toward the singularity. It doesn't matter if you turn left, if you turn right, if you turn around. It doesn't matter. The singularity always remains in front of you. And you will hit that singularity in a finite amount of time. Okay, now as you fall towards the singularity, light from the surrounding universe with you will continue to fall in after you. Due to the extreme gravity, the light is shifted to higher frequencies. And because of time dilation, the outside universe appears to speed up, but it's still there. But that's not to say it isn't weird. Because all the mass of the black hole is concentrated to an infinitely tiny point, there's that word again. The differences in gravity are extreme. You're stretched hard from head to toe in a process named simply as, or known as spaghettification. Spaghettification. You're pulled apart like a strand of spaghetti. And not only are you pulled apart, the atoms that you're comprised of will be pulled apart as well. Because there's more gravity pulling on your feet than it is pulling on your head. And what's more, you're squeezed along your midsection. This squeezing operates on the beams of light surrounding you as well. So the infalling light, as it comes from your head, is going to be bent around your waist, and you'll basically have a band. Your universe will be sandwiched in a disc around your waist. Okay, you can view the singularity, but it will become grotesque and distorted as well. It's pitch black, and you can't see it because it lies in your future. And just like your future, you don't know what it looks like until you get there. But instead of appearing as a tiny point, the huge gravitational differences stretch that point, and it will engulf most of your vision. As you approach the singularity, it will appear that you're landing on a surface of a vast, featureless, empty black planet. It stretches completely from horizon to horizon. You've made it. And what do you find there? Well, we don't know. It'd be nice if you could tell us, but nothing escapes a black hole, not even information. And you certainly won't yourself. So think about that when you got nothing else to think about. Back to net, KG5P.
Thank you, Mike. That was a very interesting topic. Black holes certainly are strange phenomena. All right, next up are space launches for the week. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll give us some information on space launches.
All right, thank you, Miss Billy. Let's see, what do we have? Well, the information I get comes from Space Coast Launches, spacecoastlaunches.com, and spaceflightnow.com, which was a physical publication years ago, and now they provide this information online. So November 25th, let's see, today's 23rd, we have a Soyuz 21V, that's a Plesk Cosmodrome out of Russia. A Russian Soyuz 21V rocket in the Volga upper stage will launch an unspecified payload. They think it's from the Russian Ministry of Defense, according to the airspace warning notices. Sounds ominous. I'm not sure what that is, but that came from November 19th. We have on December 4th a SpaceX Falcon 9 CRS-19 launch. That'll be the 21st Dragon spacecraft mission on its 19th operational cargo delivery flight to the International Space Station. The flight is being conducted under the Commercial Resupply Services, or CRS, with NASA. This is delayed from October 15th of earlier this year. Launch window is at 12:48. SpaceX.com does do all video of their launches, so you may want to tune in then. November 26th or 27th, depending on where you are. Let's see, we will be, oh man, it is so close, I understand. It could be on the 27th for us here locally. This is out of Satish Dhawan Space Center and Sri Harikota, India. India's Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, PSLV, designated PSLV C-47, will be launched as the first Cartosat 3 series Earth imaging and mapping satellite for the Indian Space Research Organization, along with 12 Super Dove observing nanosatellites to the planet, and the Meshbed Tech Demo CubeSat for analytical space. That's a lot to say. The launch vehicle will fly the PSLV XL configuration with 6 strap-on solid rocket boosters. This was delayed from mid-2019, October, November, and moved forward to this date. Set for December of 2019, coming up in a couple of weeks, we have the SpaceX Falcon 9 launch, expected to launch the 5th batch of approximately 60 satellites for SpaceX Starlink broadband network, designated Starlink 4. This will be from Cape Canaveral. We also have on December 1st a Soyuz Progress 74P is in Papa. This is scheduled for 6:29 a.m. 5:29 a.m. Central Time, launch from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. A Russian government Soyuz rocket will launch the 74th Progress cargo delivery ship to the International Space Station. And finally, with an actual date, December 15th, of this year, we have this Falcon X, SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, which will launch the JC-SAT-18 Pacific-1 communication satellite jointly owned by Sky Perfect JSAT Corporation of Japan and Pacific Broadband Satellites of Singapore, built by Boeing. The JSAT-18 Pacific-1 communication satellite will provide mobile and broadband services across Alaska and Pacific region. That was delayed from November 11th. This will be from Cape Canaveral. At this point, never mind. That's my notes. That's it from me. Back to net control, KE5ICX.
Great, thank you, Tom. This is KF5's PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up, I think we have a little bit of time left. We're getting close to the end, but we do have time for some recent astronomical discoveries. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Brenda, WD5OZL. The net is yours.
Thank you, Billy. This is WB5OZL. The first article is entitled The Simultaneous Merging of Giant Galaxies. An international research group team led by scientists from Göttingen and Potsdam proved the first time that the galaxy NGC 6240 contains 3 supermassive black holes. The unique observations published in the journal Astronomy and Astrophysics show the black holes close to each other in the core of the galaxy. This study points to simultaneous merging processes during the formation of the largest galaxies in the universe. Massive galaxies like the Milky Way typically consist of hundreds of billions of stars and host a black hole with a mass of several million up to several hundred million solar masses at their centers. The galaxy known as NGC 6240 is known as an irregular galaxy due to its particular shape. Until now, astronomers have assumed that it was formed by the collision of 2 smaller galaxies and therefore contains 2 black holes in its core. These galactic ancestors move toward each other at velocities of several hundred kilometers per second and are still in the process of merging. The galaxy system, which is around 300 million light years away from us, close by cosmic standards, has been studied in detail at all wavelengths, and so far has been regarded as a prototype for the interaction of galaxies. Through our observations with extremely high spatial resolution, we were able to show that the interacting galaxy system NGC 6240 hosts not 2, as previously assumed, but 3 supermassive black holes in its center, reports Professor Wolfram Kolonchny from the University of Göttingen, the lead author of the study. Each of the 3 heavyweights has a mass of more than 90 million suns. They are located in a region of space less than 3,000 light years across, i.e., in less than 1/100th the total size of the galaxy. Up until now, such a concentration of 3 supermassive black holes had never been discovered in the universe, as Dr. Peter Weilbacher of the Leibniz Institute for Astrophysics, Potsdam, AIP. The present case provides evidence of a simultaneous merging process of 3 galaxies along with their central black holes. The discovery of this triple system is of fundamental importance for understanding the evolution of galaxies over time. Until now, it has not been possible to explain how the largest and most massive galaxies, which we know from our cosmic environment in the present time, were formed just by normal galaxy interaction and merging processes over the course of the previous 14 billion years, approximately, i.e. the age of our universe. If, however, simultaneous merging processes of several galaxies took place, then the largest galaxies with their central supermassive black holes were able to evolve much faster. Our observations provide the first indication of this scenario. For the unique high-precision observations of the galaxy NGC 6240 using the 8-meter VLT, a telescope operated by the European Southern Observatory in Chile, the 3D Muse spectrograph was used in spatial high-resolution mode together with 4 artificially generated laser stars and an adaptive optics system. Thanks to the sophisticated technology, images are obtained with a sharpness similar to that of the Hubble Space Telescope, but additionally contain a spectrum for each image pixel. These spectra were decisive in determining the motion and masses of the supermassive black holes in NGC 6240. The scientists assume that the observed imminent merging of the supermassive black holes in a few million years will also generate very strong gravitational waves. In the foreseeable future, signals of similar objects can be measured with the planned satellite-based gravitational wave detector LISA, and further merging systems can be discovered. We're almost out of time. I think I'll stop there with that one article. There are a couple of others, but I don't think there's time to read them. So back to net. Oh, that's from ScienceDaily.com. So back to net. This is WV5OZL.
Great. Thank you very much, Brenda. All right. Since we are running short on time, we don't have time to give details on visible satellite passages, but I will tell you that you can go to the website www.heavens-above.com website, so you can find out what's in orbit and where to look during flyovers. You can go to the website, put in your location information, and then you'll be able to see all the information. Again, that website is www.heavens-above.com. All right, at this time, I'll turn the net over to my alternate net control one more time, KE5ICX, if you'll see if we have any final check-ins, and get me a final count for this evening's net. This is KF5PDS to KE5ICX.
And thank you. This is KE5ICX alternate net control this evening. I'll go ahead and take final check-ins. We're at 28. I'll take additional check-ins. Please come now with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from. Please come now.
Kilo 5, Kilo Oscar Bravo, Philip from Crandall. November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Hawaii Mesquite.
K5KOB, Philip in Crandall, and I got N5OF, Clay in Mesquite. Everybody's checking in. Anybody else, please come now.
This is KF5JHA, a relay for N5IMS, JJ in Carrollton. He's on Echolink.
Very good. Thanks. I appreciate that, Chaz. N5IMS, JJ over in Carrollton. He's nearly always over there, and he's checking in, so I got him. So we have 31 check-ins this evening, including net control and ANCS. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Great. Thank you very much, Tom. I copy that tonight we had 31 hams participating on the air tonight. So thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful Internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5PDS, Billy, And I'll be closing the net at 22:29 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. So 7-3, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and hope to see you at Turkey Trot. So good night and good nets, and good evening. This is KF5PDS, and looking forward to the Afterglow Movie Net. So stay tuned, folks. Remember, there's the Afterglow Movie Net coming up next.
This is KE5ICX. We'll be back with in 5 minutes. So do all that you need to do, and we will be discussing Battlestar Galactica, not the original, the reimage series from 2004. Actually, I think I put down 2003 with the very first episode, 33. Which actually is pretty darn cool. Even if you didn't see it, you should check in because it would be a lot of fun. So back in 4 minutes and 18 seconds. This is KE5ICX. We all know what this is. It's 10:30 at night. We're too old to go out and do fun things, and we're too old to be put in jail because of doing fun things. So you got a radio, you're sitting at home, and you're safe, and you can't get in trouble. Well, you could, but the likelihood of that is probably not very good. And that's a good thing or a bad thing, depending on where you are in your life. But that's okay. This is KE5ICX. It's time for the After Movie Net. This is an opportunity where everybody can talk about any and everything, and maybe even the movie that we're going to discuss. And this one is, this evening, is Battlestar Galactica, which is, what is that? Hold on. Oh, heck, I can't remember. Nemo or something. Anyways, Galactica. Gino. Galactica in name only. Galactica in name only. From the folks that loved the original series and didn't like the reboot, which was in 2004. 2003 was the series. And interestingly, actually 2005, according to this, original air date was the first episode was on October 18th, 2004 in the United Kingdom, and then in the United States they waited and did the series in January 14th, 2005 under the new sci-fi name SYFY, not sci-fi, like we all know what it is in the technical sense. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give a description of everything you guys think about and size up this series, and while I give you the basic synopses. The episode's called 33. It was the first episode of the first season of the pilot, and is the pilot episode of the re-imaged military science fiction television program Battlestar Galactica, without the colon, by the way, immediately following the events of the 2003 miniseries. 33 follows Galactica and her civilian fleet as they are forced to contend with constant silent pursuit for days without sleep. They are forced to ultimately destroy one of their own ships to foil the Cylons and earn their first respite of the series. The episode was written by series creator Ronald D. Moore and the television directorial debut of Michael Raymer. Moore and executive David Icke made the decision to slot this episode as the first of the season because of the potential impact on the audience. Distinguished the themes of the new Battlestar Galactica series by following characters on the spaceships, on the planets that were fled, and in the minds of other characters. Attention to detail was prevalent in this first episode. The production team, the editing team, and even the actors themselves strove for authenticity of specific portrayals and moments. Though there were compromises made due to concerns of the episode being too dark for audiences, the episode was lauded by both cast and crew, in addition to winning a 2005 Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation, short form. 33 originally aired on Sky One in the United Kingdom on October 18th of 2004 and subsequently aired on the Sci-Fi Channel in the United States on January 14th, 2005, along with the following episode, Water, which, by the way, was pretty darn good too. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read the plot, and then we'll go ahead and take check-ins. Having fled the besieged Ragnar anchorage, the convoy of refugee spaceships is relentlessly pursued and attacked by Cylon base stars. The colonial fleet must execute a faster-than-light, or FTL, jump every 33 minutes to escape the Cylons, who consistently arrive at the new jump point coordinates approximately 33 minutes later. After over 130 hours and 237 jumps, the fleet's coordinates The crew and passengers, particularly those aboard Galactica, have been operating without sleep while facing the strain of nearly constant military action. Upon the 238th consecutive jump, Olympic Carrier, a commercial passenger vessel with 1,345 souls aboard, is accidentally left behind, and the attacks unexpectedly cease, allowing the fleet some respite. When the vessel arrives 3 hours later, President Laura Roslin and the Commander Adama ordered Captain Lee Apollo Adama and Lieutenant Kara Starbuck thrice to destroy it, believing that it has been infiltrated by Cylons and now poses a threat to the fleet's safety. The Colonial pilots destroy Olympic Carrier with the rest of the Colonial, as the rest of the Colonial fleet jumps away. Baltar's internal number 6 explains to him, and this is one of the characters, it's not explained in this, but he's a major character. Internal number 6 explains to him that God is looking after his interests, implying that the scientists aboard Olympic Carrier was preparing to reveal Baltar's unwitting collusion with the Cylon attack on the colonies. After the fleet's last jump, the Cylons do not return, and the President's Survivor whiteboard, Colonial 1, the result of fleet-wide consensus, is updated one additional soul to 47,973 with the birth of the fleet's first child aboard Rising Star, a boy. A boy. Meanwhile, on Caprica, Lieutenant Carl Hilo Agathon is captured by a Cylon patrol and then rescued by his Cylon captors by a number 8 in the guise of his crewmate, Sharon Boomer Valeri. Okay, Boomer, who shoots a number 6 at number 6 to free him. All right, that's it. And that's the beginning of the series. And there's enough from the old series, if you've seen that, you can probably talk intelligently about the whole fleeing Caprica. And for the rest of us who saw the series and who loved it, I won't mention any names, but I sure did. And people who thought it was, we'll find out. Now is your opportunity to check in. I'll need your call sign, your name. Did you see 33? Let me know if you are a Cylon or a human. Please come now. Your call sign, your name. Did you see 33, or the series for that matter? And are you a Cylon or a human? Please come now.
T9V. Do I actually have to pick one or the other? Because I'm a hybrid, as far as you know. And yes, I saw the show. And I'm in Plano. And my name's Michael. Maybe.
This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda, and I am in DeSoto. I did see the show. I'm not sure whether I'm a human or a Cylon. So I had myself tested, and the test was unconclusive. So I don't know.
WT9V again. I have it on good authority that Brenda is out getting herself in trouble and is going to need to be bailed out shortly because she asked me to hold her beer. So I'm not sure who that was that just checked in, but it wasn't Brenda.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony in Dallas. I saw this episode. I saw a lot of the first season when it first came out, and I saw some of the reruns of the original series. So I guess I'll have some opinions. NT5TM.
Kilo Golf 5, Zombies Need Jobs. Frank in Flower Mound. I watched part of the series, and tonight I shall register as a 1970s advisor Cylon, like Lucifer. KG5 ZNJ, by your command.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Tango Sierra Kilo, Burl in Dallas. I did see the movie, and I'm still human.
KG5P, Mike and Richardson. I saw it, or at least I saw some of it, or I saw as much as I could stand of it. KG5P.
Whiskey 5, Echo Bravo Bravo. David in Dallas. Yes, I saw the episode, and I saw the whole series in a binge watch in 2018. And as far as I know, I'm human, although there's always the possibility for all of us that we are just not yet activated Cylon sleeper agents. W5EBB.
All right, let's pause there, and I'll go ahead and acknowledge everybody who's checked in. Over air, I got WT9V Michael in Plano. Yep, he's a hybrid, and he did see it. WB5OZL, Miss Brenda DeSoto. Yes, she saw it. Inconclusive. NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. Yes, he did see it. He didn't acknowledge whether he's Cylon or human, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. There are ways. KG5, zombies need jobs. Frank in Flower Mound. Yes, he says he's an old-style 1970s Cylon Lucifer. There's a whole other thing on all of that, too. We'll have to come back and talk about the original series because I kind of like Lucifer. Jonathan Harris was the voice. KF5TSK, Burl in Dallas. Yes, he's definitely human. Go blue. KG5P, Mike in Richardson. Boy, it looked like I couldn't even write my handwriting. Well, it's in Caprica. Yes, he saw it as much as he can stand. It's okay. We'll bring you up to speed. And W5EBB, David in Dallas, and he says he's human, and he did see it. Okay, let me go over to Echolink and let folks check in over there because we frequently forget Echolink. It's very Cylon-ish. So Echolink, please come now with your call sign name, location. Did you see 33 or BSG, MOUSC? Let me know if you're human or Cylon. Echolink only. All right, JJ's in there. He says he's just listening. And I thought maybe let's see, Jay, K5BZW, KG5BZW, you always check in. Are you out there, Jay? I will put you in. You're regular. That's highly unusual. Usually Jay's in there. I'm going to put a little asterisk by his name just in case he's preoccupied. I'll open it up. Anyone who'd like to join us this evening, we are talking about Battlestar Galactica, the rebooted series from 2004. Yeah, we did the original series several years ago, but now we're going to talk about this one, and specifically the award-winning episode 33, the pilot well, not pilot, but the first episode of the television series on Sci-Fi. So if you'd like to join us this evening, even if you did or did not see it, if you've seen BSG, doesn't matter, we'll talk about it. Please come now with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. That's okay. You may be listening in. You may have some comments later on. Go ahead and do a break and let us know that you're interested, or wait until the end of the list and say you want to check in with comments. Best thing about checking in late is that you can say, I agree or disagree with a bunch of people, which fills up time, and then you become the genius. Well, actually you do, because I already knew that. How could you say that? Blue is everybody's favorite color in that television series. And you can Google everything at the same time. So you become the omniscient individual at the bottom of the list. So let me start at the top. WT9 Victor, Michael in Plano, he's a hybrid. The first thing we do is talk about the plot. What did you think about the plot to Battlestar Galactica, the first episode? Please go ahead. From KE5ICX.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. You didn't tell us what you are. So I'm going to hand it right back to you, and then you can give it back to me, if you wish.
I will say only this. All along the watchtower. Back to WT9V.
I'm not into this enough to understand what that means. But maybe somebody else got it and can explain it to me. Thank you. This is WT9V, as if you hadn't already guessed. I think after having read more, trying to figure out what I might want to say tonight, and I only got a little bit out of that, is that the reason that I didn't really get into this the first time I saw it, or last night when I saw it again, was that I didn't see the miniseries. So I think that has a lot to do with my not really appreciating this as much as most people did. So I think maybe I'm going to go back and watch the miniseries and then give it another shot. But my thoughts from the last night were the whole Cylons in the Mind thing. Once again, I didn't see the miniseries. I don't really buy it. I mean, if they can get into your mind like that, how come they didn't just win instantly? And the other thing that really got me was the long, do we follow orders? Do we blow up the ship or not? And it just kind of dragged on for too long for me. It was kind of annoying. But since that was really nothing, I'll give you some numbers. Survivors, 49,998. Frack count, 13. Starbucks Cylon kill count, 7. Lee Cylon kill count, 3. Starbuck punching people in the face count, 1. Oh my God damn it, etc. count, 2. And so say we all count, 16. Back to net control.
Well, obviously you're not a fan of the series, because otherwise you'd know about All Along the Watchtower reference. But that's okay. You'll have to sit through 4 seasons of Battlestar Galactica and probably 1 episode of Game of Thrones to get that reference. But that's okay. I have comments about do we blow up the ship later on. But I'm going to hold my comments until the end because so say we all. ND5TM, Tony, you saw this episode. What are your comments?
Well, thank you, Tom. I can remember seeing bits at the original show on, syndicated reruns and UHF channels. I particularly remember some episode where people were in a casino and being taken underground to be used as hosts by giant wasps or something like that. And the crew of the Galactica figuring that one out. I remember the voice of the insurance salesman, or whatever his name was, who was the captain of the ship. And so I was aware of the original series, but I was definitely not in love with it because it was just sort of vaguely on my periphery. And so when I saw this show, this was not the first episode I saw something else first, but when I saw this, I was really intrigued. I was not offended by the various, swapping a male character for a female character, because I was never, they were not part of my religion, they were just people on an old TV show. And so I found this show, this series, really intriguing, but I have this guilty feeling to admit I don't know if I'm a Cylon or not. Of course, I could be a sleeper, but I know there were ones who didn't know they were Cylons. Because I'm just not a good American. I keep forgetting to watch television. And so I watched some of this and thought, that's neat. And then 6 months later, I realized I hadn't watched it again. Oops. So that happens to me a lot with TV. There's pelicans and plants and butterflies and bees and all these cool things outside, and I forget to watch TV. So I liked it. I actually wasn't bothered by the do we shoot it or not. I know that they have tension like that, and then there are all these sleep-deprived people who have to try to make a decision, and they've only got about 60 seconds to do it, and that's hard. So that didn't bother me. It reminded me that the show had potential. The plot did seem to be full of tension and confusion, and I thought that was appropriate for their situation. So hopefully people who know more about the series will see more, and hopefully I'm at least a hybrid, but who knows? I can't tell. NT5PM.
Thank you, Tony. And yes, getting mixed up with the original series and this series, it's easy to do. They're almost identical. The look, the sound, the characters, the something. I'm not sure. While you were speaking, I realized that, and I got a very nasty tweet or chat note that I had skipped over Brenda, WB5OZL, and I realized that I was looking at last week's list where she was number 7 on the list. She got in late, and she got in nice and early on this one, and I skipped over her. So I've crossed out. In fact, I put another X through last week's list, and I'm putting Brenda up at the top. WB5OZL. Miss Brenda, you said you saw this episode. You are a hybrid of some sort. So tell us all. What did you think of the plot for BSG 33?
This is WB5OZL. My message to you is not nasty. I was very nice and civil about it. I think you should give me an extra turn, though. That would only be fair. I'm doing some more tests, so those results should be in sometime next week, and I can let you know then whether I'm a toaster or not. I'm a big fan of this series. I watched it all first run, and I enjoyed it again last night. I thought the plot was fine. All TV shows have holes, plot holes, and things where you go, no, what about this? What about that? But I just kind of enjoyed it. And, oh gosh, I'll have more to say later. I need to collect my thoughts. I wasn't expecting to go next. Back to net, WE5OZL.
Very good. It'll all come back to you later on after the resurrection. Next up is Frank, KG5ZNJ. Your thoughts on Battlestar Galactica 33, which is Episode 1, Season 1, and I know you're a Cylon, so please bring your perspective to this from KE5ICX.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Zombies Need Jobs. Well, I had trouble watching this one because there seemed to have been technical difficulties with the internet of some sort, and I was watching it, and it just kept cutting out. So in the end, it was frustrating, and I watched no more than half of it. That being said, I got a feel for it, and well, it's going to be hard for me to like this one because I really loved the original series when it came out. And most people may not remember this, but it came out as a movie first. Before there was ever a TV series, there was a movie. And my folks grabbed me and threw me in the back of the car and took me to a drive-in movie in Canada for the first time in my life. So I'd never been to a drive-in before. And that was the mystery movie, was Battlestar Galactica movie. And it blew me away. I was just the right age for it, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen in my life up until that point. So then the TV series came out after that, and I was a big fan of that. It wasn't a perfect series, but it was fun, and there was a lot of things I liked about it. A lot of things were kind of dumb, but let me reset. What I enjoyed the most about it, I think, was the back and forth between Lucifer and Balthar, who was played by John Colicos, because somehow a human had been put in charge of one of the fleets, and they never really trusted him. And Lucifer was a pretty menacing Cylon who was always scrutinizing him all the time, always checking to see if he was really loyal, and he was under a lot of stress, and I really enjoyed him on the hot seat squirming. I thought that was absolutely hilarious, even at a young age. I really enjoyed that. So I love that old series very much. So I'm not going to like this series that much just because of that, I think, but I didn't really give it too much of a chance. Now, as to plot. All I saw was a bunch of weird flashbacks with hallucinations with this guy and this make-believe girlfriend, and I thought that was weird, and I couldn't really follow it, and they kept jumping in hyperspace every 3 minutes, and I just thought that was really tedious. It was, when does it end, There was another thing that really threw me off that I didn't like, and that was the art direction, which was trite and plagued with something, and I need to explain it. They had old analog clocks. They had vintage shirts with late 1970s collars. They had vintage safety razors, and they had film photographs. So what does that mean? Well, you guessed it, hipsterism. It was plagued with hipsters. So, looking at this, I say, what, is the Galactica full of coffee shops? Is it full of guys with beards and tight-fitting suits, and they got phonographs under their arms and typewriters, and they're going for coffee, looking for authentic space experiences or cool indie rock bands? No, I hate hipsters. So that was a real turn-off. Anyways, back to you, KG57J.
Man. Yeah, how long, you've lived in Dallas for a while now. I know you spend, being up in Canada, 11 and a half months of the year it's cold, and then summer comes, and you enjoy summer, both days, and then it goes back into winter. And you get really grumpy, you guys. But I love your beer. It's pretty good. Hockey night in Canada is pretty good, too. Well, we'll discuss all of that, having to do with the hipsters and the retro and all of that coming up, because, hey, let's face it, retro is in, man. Even when it's not, it's in, because it's retro. It has to be in. All right, I'll make my comments later. I've written down things and ripped through my paper on some of your comments on this, but that's okay. We'll get to it. KF5TSK, Burrow in Dallas. He says he's human. Is he really? Burl, tell us about Battlestar Galactica 33, or if you want to, you can talk about anything else you want having to do with BSG. You know you like it, or not, from KE5ICX.
This KF5TSK. Well, I would say that the Series 33 really didn't have a plot itself. The plot was the Cylons wanted to kill all humans, but when you look at the whole series, it's the Cylons did everything to take on human form, that they weren't really interested in being this metal robot that walked around and took orders. They wanted to be everything like humans. I would say that particular the 33 series was more about the fact that they had to move, make adjustments every 33 minutes, and it was like everyone was just totally worn out because, you had to be on top of your game. Saying all of that, I'm not really sure if I'm asleep or not. KF5TSK back to net.
All right, thank you, Burl. And I've got comments on that, too, coming up. Let's see. Next, by the way, this is KE5ICX. We're talking about Battlestar Galactica. The redone series, actually, I think it was 2004. Well, it depends. 2003, 2004, it came out both years, first in Britain and then in the United States. So next up is KG5P. Mike, I know you weren't overly enthused with the series, but what do you have for us? You can infuse old and new if you'd like. Go right ahead. This is KE5ICX.
KE5ICX and the group, KG5P. Yeah, I wasn't overly enthused. This movie could have been worse, though. It could have had Paul Cartwright in it. That's what I thought at first. No, I never could figure out what was going on. I thought maybe it was like episode 33 and it missed the first 32. I don't know. Not a human. I mean, we have to pick. I had a Siamese cat once, if that helps. So I couldn't figure out what was going on. The version we saw, it was reverse image. Everything was reversed, which is not a problem. First, I thought the clocks were running backwards, but it was they just reversed the image. With that girl, the blonde, the bleach blonde with the low-cut evening dress. What was that about? I never could. She was going around kissing everybody. Was she like some kind of space hooker? But at first I thought I might have been watching some daytime soap opera. As the stomach turns. Figure out what her function was. Where the Cylon was chasing the guy through the redwood forest, and he had these remote-controlled IUDs that the switch, and he blew up the Cylons and kill them. So he had to go back and finish him off with his World War II 45 automatic. I switched over and I watched the Three Stooges. That was pretty good. See, Colonel Larry and Moe, they were trying to get this water pump apart because it was clogged up, the kind with the pump handle. And they couldn't get it out, so they finally they put a crowbar on it, and they turned the thing around, and then the crowbar hit him in the back of the head. And then Moe started. He still couldn't get it unplugged, so he stuck his finger up inside of or a screwdriver or something up inside of the nozzle on this water pump, and then it stuck his head right underneath, and then it put crude oil all over his face. That was pretty good. That was better. Back to that KG5P. Oh, by the way, Curly was actually turned into an oil well and shot Curly up in the air about 50 feet in the air on the top of this oil. So back to that KG5P.
Okay, thank you, Mike, I think. Moving right along, let's go to W5EBB. David, you profess to be human. You also saw BSG, maybe episode called 33. So, David, I know you've always got some really good comments. Please uplift the conversation from KE5ICX.
Well, thank you, Tom. Z&J, he's an angry zombie. Okay, so near the beginning of this episode, bleary-eyed Callie poses the question, why do Cylons come every 30 minutes? Why not every 34 or 35 minutes? And Chief Galen answers, shut up. Now, there's a maxim, there are no stupid questions. But a corollary that I like is only stupid questions are the ones people don't want to answer, such as why 33? Is there some cosmic significance to the number 33? Well, I think if you even ask that question, it means you're human. And if you refuse to ask that question, that means you're a Cylon. Now, in numerology, 33 is one of the master numbers, along with 11 and 22. JFK was assassinated on 11/22. 11 plus 22 equals 33. There are 33 degrees in Freemasonry. There are 33 vertebrae in the human spine. M&M's rotated 90 degrees looks like 33. Vinyl LP records rotate at 33 RPM. Okay, 33 and a third, actually. And there are surprisingly many songs titled simply 33, one of which is by Bon Iver, which features some very interesting cover art. The Cylon base star is comprised of 3 spokes at the top and 3 spokes at the bottom connected by a central axis, 3 and 3. Let me reset. Okay, so that trivia about 33 might be interesting or not, but what, if any, significance for the number 33 is indicated in this episode? Writer Ronald D. Moore claims there's nothing special about the number 33 as it pertains to this episode. In a blog from January 13th, 2005, he addresses why 33 minutes, and he says the following. The truth is there is no real answer. It's just a random number that felt right when I came up with the idea that our people were under continuous, relentless attack since the end of the pilot. I wanted it to be a short interval, just long enough for them to grab a bite to eat, jump in the shower, maybe try to catch a cat nap before dragging themselves back to their duty stations and begin the whole tedious, terrifying ordeal all over again. I was never interested in coming up with an explanation. Never. The answer, however artfully it may or may not have been crafted, can only subtract from the experience we have in watching the episode. Not knowing the hows or whys of the Cylon attack puts us in the same seat as the characters we're watching. They're in the dark, we're in the dark. The relentless attack is unfathomable in its origin and unstoppable in its execution. It's mortality coming at you in a loop. If you only had 33 minutes before the next time you would die, what would you do? And what about the time after that and the time after that? At a certain point, you stop caring about why it's happening. All you know is that it's happening, and it's happening to you. So the mystery of 33 will be permanent on this show. No explanation, not even the attempt. Let it just be a number that seemed like an eternity for 5 long days on the Battlestar Galactica. Okay. He's a little vague about whether 33 was or wasn't significant. He's clearly saying, though, almost adamantly, that he will offer no explanation. Fair enough. But in randomly choosing a power number of numerology, surely he knew he was inviting inquiry and speculation. So let's speculate. Let's look for details or inconsistencies in the episode. glitches in the matrix, if you will, that might be revealing or telling. The number 33 may be a key, but a key is useless if you don't know which lock it opens and the location of the lock. I think I've found the lock. The lock is the wall clock on Colonial 1, and 33 is the key. That's what I'll talk about in the next round, assuming I don't get activated before then. Chariot Progressive, listen. Mandelbrot set is in motion. Echo Choir has been breached. We are fielding the ball. We are fielding the ball. W5EBB.
Oh my, David, that's fantastic. I don't know, you're the guy that sat in the front row in class. I can tell. And you did your homework, and you wrote it up, and it makes sense. And at the same time, your speculation is speculation. And we do have to ask the question, art thee human or art thee Cylon? Okay, well, hang in there. We will be back with more to come. N5IMS, JJ says over here, he's got, let's see here, 33 is what you get by multiplying two primary numbers, 3 and 11. Then he says, also have the show for 30 minutes, 3 minutes of commercials, and then the show starts again. 33. And this is why he doesn't check in by voice. Next up, now I put Jay in, KG5BZW, because he's been on every net for the last 300 years, and he did not check in earlier, so I put him in anyway. So Jay, if you're listening, KG5BZW from KE5ICX, your comments on the plot. You're up, bud.
This is KG5BZW. Thank you for that, Tom. I just kind of dozed off, and yeah, kind of feeling the effects of 33 minutes. I don't know. No, I don't think I'm going to be nearly as coherent as 85 EBV's statements. I'm just going to say, try to keep it quick. You know how I tend to ramble on. I like the episode. I'm almost trying to figure out if I've even seen it before. There's just something familiar about it. Maybe I saw part of it at some point, or saw the description of it. There's just something very familiar about it. Like it's almost a trope of some sort. And it just kind of bugs me that I can't really even put my finger on it. But it's still, I thought, yeah, I'm not sure that there's really, it goes along with any of the other sci-fi shows I actually kind of liked in terms of entertainment and all of that. Again, something not to be taken too seriously. The 33, yeah, it is a convenient kind of number. I keep on. I saw that. I was like, I don't know. I wondered. Okay, they did it for like 33 minutes. Was it 33 minutes plus a random number of seconds? I honestly wasn't paying that much attention to it, because if it was like clockwork, that's kind of like, how did the Cylons know that what a minute you have to have to know what 33 minutes? You have to have the concept of 1 minute involved in, like, okay, that just got me wondering about that, because you take a random constant, and it's not, you don't have just two decimal places of description. Yeah, I mean, just gobs and gobs of numbers until we can't figure it out anymore. And I'm just rambling on about that. But, I don't know. Again, I didn't think there was anything too much to really hate about it. I enjoyed it, and it's hard. It's kind of hard for me to come up with anything too negative or too, I don't know, interesting to discuss for me. I don't know. Maybe, surely, certainly some people have here. And of course, I've already said more than I probably thought I was going to say. So, with that, plot-wise, I guess I'll see what I can say the next time. And again, thank you for checking me in, even though I don't think I checked myself in. So back in that, this is KG5BZW.
Thank you, Jay. Let's see. This is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Aftercore Movie Net, which we're talking about Battlestar Galactica, the very first episode from the series. There was I think it was a 3-part miniseries in 2003, and then in 2003 or 4, depending on which year you want to say it actually aired, whether it be in Britain or in the United States. This episode, the very first one, Season 1, Episode 1, 33. I'll ask if anybody else would like to check in. I'll check Echolink as well. Anybody else who would like to check in, please come now.
5P, recheck.
KG5P, Mike, go ahead.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, my brain now is totally fried. Here was a Jumbies Need Jobs, who's talking about the 33 number. Found one real important 33 number, and that's the Fibonacci series. If you add up the Fibonacci series, the first 7 digits, which are 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and 13, now, the Fibonacci series is one of these magical numbers that shows up all over in mathematics and engineering. It shows up in biology. It shows up in Greek architecture. It shows up in the stock market. It shows up in biology like in sunflowers and in snails and in nautilus shells. I had no idea. My mind is fried. I'm going to have to go to sleep for a couple of days and recover. KG5P.
All right, thank you, Mike. And yes, well, do some math, and I think you still have HP calculator. You showed it to me last time I met up with you, and it's very nice. It's LED, and it's old, and all of that. And you had a pocket watch too, if I remember correctly. But it's okay. It's okay. I want to go ahead and make a few comments because as net control, I get to do that. Everybody makes really good comments, and I can either shoot it down or elevate it to an incredible level. But some of the things I thought about the series. First off, one of the story elements in this that got wiped out, and I seem to remember I am pretty darn sure I saw it on the original airing of this episode, which I watched when it first came on Sci-Fi Channel, was that when the spacecraft, the Ocean, whatever the hell it was, the one that was following the fleet, and they got a respite, and then it suddenly shows up and is going to be reunited with the fleet. You got the Starbuck and what was it? The other guy, Adama, the son of Adama, whatever he was called. They're following or shadowing this ship, and it's headed for the battle for the Galactica. And if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong because I can't remember even names right now, but I seem to remember they saw people on board the spacecraft, and it's headed for the Battlestar Galactica. In the process of that, they have this incredible angst. Do they destroy it? Because on board are nuclear weapons. That's confirmed. And this goes back to the 9/11 thing with Dick Cheney, and I think that's where the story came from. They said, go ahead and shoot down a commercial airliner. Well, this is a commercial spaceship. It's headed for the Galactica, and it could destroy the one military ship left in the whole thing. That was the angst, and this only came a couple of years after 9/11. So there was some play with emotions, but that was pulled out. That was pulled out from the storyline because it was too close to home. And there were some political aspects of it, of course, but there always is when you do a series like this. But I thought that was quite fascinating, and I think that kind of eviscerated the whole idea of this angst that was going on amongst the fleet and the people on board, and that's why everybody was so upset afterwards. It didn't come off as true because when they made the comments, there's nobody on board, well, it's okay, blow it up. With people on board, that changes the whole dynamic. Now, someone mentioned, and I don't disagree, I think it was Michael, having to do with not having seen the miniseries. Can you pick up where this thing left off? Well, I think part of the thing that worked for me was that if you were an old-time fan of the original series, and I was, I enjoyed it, there were things I hated about it, there were things I loved about it. Lost in Space was an example of that, too. There are things I loved about it, and there are things I hated about it. The original series had that going on, but everybody remembered both. If you're my age, in their 60s or 50s, they would know, maybe even 70s. But in this case, I think the series would have worked perfectly fine if you had seen the original series or the original movie, up in Canada, by the way, and be able to pick up with this series and be perfectly fine with it. Here's another thing that I really liked about this episode is that it picks up in the middle of whatever is going on, that you have to catch up. Now, like any science fiction series where that occurs, and Star Trek, the original series, is my favorite example of that. They don't explain anything. You're in the 23rd. You don't even know you're in the 23rd century. You're suddenly got all these things happening, and red alerts, and landing on planets, and doing all of that. They don't explain it. Battlestar Galactica does not explain itself. It is up to you as the audience to figure out what the heck is going on, figure out who the characters are. And yes, there's that retro thing going on, which I thought was pretty cool, because whatever this culture is, it's not American, it's not worldwide, it's not any of that. It is some hybrid or collection of something else with old and new. And to be honest with you, here's another point. This part does come from the the three-part miniseries, and that is that the Cylons had a very good way of destroying computers, like they did in my company the other day. And we won't talk about that. They did really serious damage. So the Cylons are doing their thing, and let's see, every 33 minutes they show up. Hey, how about we take that stupid $4 clock that you've got sitting on next to your bed, and we blow it up, and then you don't know what 33 minutes is. So you take these clunky clocks that work well, I guess, under normal gravity. That's a whole other story. But in any case, you're going to go with old reliable. You're going to go with the old mechanicals and make sure that it works, and the analogs always are consistent. Because when the analogs stop working, you know you're in trouble. When the digital stops working, you got to find another SD card and put it in and start over. So I think that there's a little bit of that going on. So I liked it. There's also one thing else having to do with this, and that is that we're talking about an homage to a series from, 1977, 78, 79, somewhere in there. I guess 79 is when the series came out. And it has this futuristic technology. And the futuristic technology has tectonics oscilloscopes. So, that's fine, and they're still around. This Bill can attest. But it's very retro. Even today, it's still retro. So they decided to go ahead and put that in, and as a way of bridging from the original series into this new series. There's a lot of things I could say about the new series, but I will mention that more in the characterization because that's the part I thought was pretty cool. I'll go ahead and take additional check-ins if anyone would like to join us. Otherwise, I'm going to the top of the list, so please come down. Hey, hearing none, let me go to WT9V. Michael, your comments on characterization.
Wow, thank you, Tom. I don't have a whole lot of comments because I really want to hear what you want to say, but I did want to say that I think that 33 was just how long it takes for all the Cylons to get back to the base star and get plugged into their quick chargers to be ready to jump. You got to get all those guys back in and get them all sorted before and that's my theory, but I don't know if that's any good. I remember being one of those people that thought, wait, they're making Starbuck a girl? Huh? Yeah, okay, I guess so, whatever. Grumble. I don't know, I guess it's because I've watched so much of the old series and I don't remember a whole lot of it at this point, but just, I don't know, you take things and you change them up just to change them up, and it worked, and everything was fine, and, she kicked butt and all that kind of good stuff. I also quite liked the older Cylons. The whole Larson scanner, all that. I read somewhere while I was looking for something to say, and I still don't have much to say about characterization because I'm going to let you do all that work. But I read somewhere that they had human-looking Cylons because they didn't have money for cool Cylons. They didn't have money in this series for good robots. I kind of missed the little scanny light. Anyway, WT9V. Back to you, Tom.
At your command. This is KE5ICX, and I am Tom, maybe, and we are discussing Battlestar Galactica 33. That's the episode. The Reimage series, not the original, but you can talk about that if you want. Next up, WB50ZL, Miss Brenda, your comments on characterization.
This is WB5OZL, and I believe that my mother was human and my father was Cylon. We're still running tests, but we'll decide. Oh, gee. Oh, I just wanted to mention to Frank that a number of the stars in this show are Canadian. If that makes any difference. I believe Katie Sackhoff is a Canadian person. No, not her. The imaginary person. What's her name? Number 6, whatever she is. I think one of the strengths of this series is the casting. There's some really strong characters in, a lot of them can really hold their own, and a lot of interesting interplay with the characters and the dynamics. I thought that, all the battles are nice, and the political stuff is nice too, but I do all the personal side notes that we see, which I think really adds to the dimension of the show. And it's brilliantly cast, I think. So many, there's just hardly anybody that just stands out, as really so much better than all the others. They're all really good. So I think that's a strong point. I don't remember seeing the movie in 1978. That was a long time ago. Maybe I did. I was busy having a baby that year, so maybe my mind wasn't all there. Because I normally went to every sci-fi movie there was. Big fan of the original series, for sure. And I watched them all, and then equally big fan of this. And I had no trouble accepting a female Starbuck. So there. Back to net, WB5OZL.
Okay, and yes, there was a movie, but it did not show in the United States. That was going to come out a couple of months later. That was in July or August of, I think it was 1977, if we're talking about the original series. I live very close to Canada, and as such, one of the guys I worked with at Radio Shack, I was one of those guys, he went over to see the movie, and I think it was in July, 2 months before the movie before the television series premiered, 77 or 78, I think it was 77. And in any case, it doesn't matter. Or does it really? Does it really? Next up, NT5TM. Tony, you have comments on characterization. Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
Sadly, I think there is just no way that I can top W5EBB's musings on the significance or lack thereof of 33. I just did not prepare that carefully. So I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with the characters here and all of our different thoughts. My thoughts about the characters on the show are rather less deep. I realize now, I had to go to Wikipedia, that what I thought were the first 2 episodes of the show were actually considered a separate mini-series, and so that's why this wasn't the first thing I saw. Just going by this episode, the characters really did seem fairly generic. We didn't get a good chance to know them well. Of course, we only had about 40 minutes. We had the old man in command of the battleship, Battlestar. We had the young hotshot fighter pilots with their, attitude and other traditional fighter pilot attributes. We had the worried civilians. We had the mischievous traitor who, I guess he was the most interesting one, Mr. Balta, because he was having his hallucinations or being visited by a space hooker or whatever we want to call his built-in Cylon personality. So I can't remember the rest of what I saw. all that well. It's been quite a long time, but I can certainly imagine he would have become the most interesting character because he was the one least like a stock type in this episode. NC5, Tia.
Tony, and I don't disagree with that. He becomes the central character. Of course, he's one of the stars and becomes that Judas character, which is how it was portrayed in the original series. I think this was well done in this series and more nuanced. TG5ZNJ, Frank? This has to do with characterization. There are an inordinate number of Canadian actors in this particular show. Would you care to explain? From KE5ICX.
This is Kilo Golf 5. Zombies need jobs. They do. Oh, well, I guess, denying the significance of 33, that's definitely a hipster move. Just saying. Actually, I'm just kidding. I'm just being funny. I could care less about hipsters. I don't hate anybody. Let me think about that. Do I? No. I will say that, those kids that dress up like clowns, the juggalos, they're kind of annoying. That's the closest thing, I think. Yeah, I don't care for them. But otherwise, I'm cool. So yeah, the Canadian thing about this show, I don't know much about it, so I can't comment, unfortunately. It's better than the Star Lost, so maybe that's a little redemption there. I don't know, but yeah, I didn't see enough of this one to be able to comment about the characters too much either way. I don't know. But, the original series, what can I say about that? I mean, yeah, the movie, it was definitely a movie. I saw it at the drive-in. It was actually a good movie. It wasn't bad. It was actually really good. In fact, I think it was better than the series. It was higher budget, and it just had a lot of action, and it was very entertaining. I just remember being blown away by it. And when the TV series came out, there was kind of a lag. Like, it went from summer all the way to winter, I believe. There was a lag. I don't remember if it was a year or 6 months, but it was quite a lag, and the TV series was actually a bit of a letdown of the movie because the movie was better than the TV series. Let me reset. The other thing is, the TV series had problems after the second season, and it was because, if I remember right, it was a big success, and people started partying. It was late 70s. People were fast and loose, Studio 54 kind of stuff. And they were doing a lot of drugs, and it got out of control. And Lauren Green walked off the series because of it, because he was disgusted by the behavior of the actors that were, they were partying way too much, and, he wanted nothing to do with it. So he left, and then by season 3 of the series, their budget absolutely fell apart. And they took 2 cameras, and they went to Montreal with Apollo, that's his name, Apollo and Starbuck. And their uniforms were absolutely trashed because, they had no money, and they kind of wrecked them during the filming. So they're in rags, they're in Montreal, they went to Expo 67, which of course probably nobody knows what that is, but it was a world fair in 1967 that had some particularly sci-fi looking architecture, and they used that as a cheap location. And they pretty much ran around in a basement in Expo 67 for most of that, third run. And they were so broke that they didn't have any Cylon uniforms left. And they couldn't play the NFL players that were in those suits anymore. So there was no Cylons in the third season, especially I think in the whole season there wasn't even Cylons. They were just in rags running around in Expo 67 in Montreal, and it was a complete train wreck. Then that series fell apart and died, and then they brought it back a few years later, and I remember it was Galactica 1980 or something like that. It was either Battlestar Galactica or Galactica 1980, and that was with all new actors, and it was absolutely horrible series. And yeah, that was, nobody remembers that one because it was just, that's up there with like Manimal, if you remember that show. But yeah, I have all that stuff on DVD. I'm sure of it. I bought it at least 20 years ago. I have the movie, I have the regular series, and I have the 80s, 1981, and yeah, I just like that series. I need to watch it again. I don't know what else. Wait, I don't know if they had Muffet the Daggett in the new one. That always struck me as bizarre. Why would you want a big robot dog? I always thought that kid, that, if that dog walked into the room, the whole room would start heating up uncomfortably, from all the power in that thing. And if you were to pet it, it would either be too hot to even touch, or you'd get like an electric shock. So I always thought that was stupid. Anyway, KG5ZNJ, back to you. By your command.
So, Frank? Thank you, I think. Let's see, this kind of went in a lot of different directions, but I appreciate your comments. Check your chemical balance having to do with the drugs that everybody has to take because we're old. Well, maybe not you. No, you're not old. I don't think. Well, you might be. But in any case, yeah, there's a lot to be said. Expo 67, yeah, they did do that. There was no third season of the original Battlestar Galactica. It only went 2 seasons. The first season was the original Battlestar Galactica, which was pretty cool. And then the second season, Galactica 1980, and yeah, they did go to Expo 67, or did they? No, that was the first season. And now I'm confused. Yeah, and it all kind of screwed up and everything. And it was the American Pavilion. It was the Bookmeister Fuller geodesic dome and all that. Now you got me doing it. This is your fault, Frank. Thanks. Next up, KF5TSK. Burl, tell us about characterization, or if you want anything you want. It can include Canadians. Go ahead. From KE5ICX.
This is KF5TSK. Well, I would say that the characterization was good, that there were a lot of, subplots, throughout Series 33 and the movie, and they seem to cover, everything very well. Kind of made everyone human, which you would, probably do in a TV series, which you couldn't do in a movie because of limited time. But I enjoyed the whole series. One of the things that I can think of is that I enjoy the fact that everything seemed to be authentic. The spacesuits that they wore, it seemed to be appropriate. It didn't seem to be something that was just thrown together. It was something that was really thought out. KF5TSK, back to net.
Hey, thanks, Pearl. I know you're short on that, but that's okay. I get it. Let's see. Next up, KG5P. Mike, I know you didn't particularly love the series, but go ahead and tell us about the Three Stooges. We'll wait. I'm tapping my foot. KE5I6.
That's KG5P. Yeah, the Three Stooges are great. They had one, they were fighting the Nazis or something like that, and they came across the Nazis, and brains, and the Nazi says, "We are Nazis. We have no brains." That was made during World War II. No, I just had one question on characterization, and maybe you could give me an answer. Maybe somebody else knows. What was the function of the bleach blonde with the slinky red dress? What was that all about? I have no idea. It made no sense at all to me. That was my only question. So if somebody can tell me that, I'll consider the last hour that I've spent here least somewhat edifying. KG5P.
Well, Mike, I'll go ahead and pop forward on that one. Yes. God, even my comment. The whole point of the thing is that I believe was that the Cylons, and this may spoil it in a certain way, but and this could still be somewhat of some conjecture, is that the Cylons both hated their creators and loved them. That was the whole point of it, and she appears in the original miniseries as a seductress. She's there to seduce the human race, but at the same time to destroy them, because that's their whole what do you call it? Their Achilles heel is that they can't think when they are in a position of some sort of emotional intrigue or whatever. And what happens is that it's sort of this love-hate relationship that the Cylons have an admiration for people, but at the same time they hate them because they were enslaved by them, which is both in the original series and then in the reboot. So there's a lot of emotions. They're evolving. Now I'm telling you my part through the thing. Well, I'll go ahead and do so. These are the parts that I felt about the series, and there's this love-hate relationship, and we can destroy them or not. But in any case, in the end, you got to deal with it. And that's how it ends, and then it also begins that way, because the series ends and begins exactly the same way, which is the full circle of life thing. I don't know. It's hard to pull that out of 44 minutes of episode 33 S11 in all of it. Yeah, numerology, maybe there is. Next up, the W5EBB. David, what do you say about characterization? I know you took notes because I saw you take notes. I can see it through my computer. Go ahead.
Well, instead of characterization, I'd like to call this section a clock as a prop and a lock. And first, comment on Mike's comments about 33 and the Fibonacci sequence. Well, his comment presages or foreshadows what I wanted to discuss in this round, which includes the golden ratio. The golden ratio and the Fibonacci sequence are closely related. The quotient of two consecutive values from the Fibonacci series approximates the golden ratio with greater and greater accuracy the higher number of the elements from the sequence you choose. Okay, so clocks are front and center ubiquitous in this episode, visibly and audibly, and they certainly add to the tension of the episode. Digital and analog clocks, stopwatches counting down to 0, timers counting up to 33, and on Colonial 1, and only on Colonial 1, there's a standard analog wall clock. On it is a label with the number 33 written in red, taped to point to the 33-minute mark between hours 6 and 7 on the clock dial. Now, at the beginning of the episode, the time is shown to be 10 hours, 32 minutes, and 40 seconds. Jump 237 is about to commence, which will happen at 10:33:00. But just before Colonial 1 jumps, a close-up camera shot shows that the wall clock has moved from 10:32:50 to 12:33:00. Now, that's one messed-up clock. It's just jumped ahead 2 hours in a matter of seconds. Why? Probably for dramatic impact and tidal reinforcement to get the greatest multiplicity of threes from a single camera shot. At 12:33, the hour hand and the minute hand are 180 degrees apart and form a single line. The taped-on red label 33 still points to the 33-minute mark. The hour hand points at approximately the 3-minute mark. Digits of 1 and 2 for 12 add to 3. A veritable cornucopia of threes, albeit at the sacrifice of continuity. It's a scene that screams, "Look at me," and at the same time whispers, pay attention. Time has run amok with this discontinuity and this jump in time. Now, a subtle clue here, which is peculiar to the use of a wall clock to measure successive fixed time intervals, is that successive, say, 33-minute intervals obviously don't start or end at the 33rd minute mark, as would seem to be implied by the label affixed to the clock at the 33-minute mark. If the current jump starts at the 33-minute mark, then the next jump will start 33 minutes later at the 6-minute mark, the next at the 39-minute mark, the next at the 12-minute mark, etc. In total, there are 12 unique minute hand locations on a wall clock that each jump interval of 33-minute duration would fall on, depending on the jump number. It can be drawn with a children's toy, a spirograph, or it can be calculated as the modulus of the cumulative elapsed time in minutes at each jump number and 60. And it creates the integer sequence 0, 33, 6, 39, 12, 45, 1851, etc. And there are 20 of them. So if you then were to connect the dots of each of these 20 numbers along the edge of the clock, you would have a 20-sided polygon, also known as an icosagon. Now, the number 27 is also significant. The absolute value of the difference between consecutive elements of this integer sequence alternates between 33 and 27. 0 minus 33 equals 33. 33 minus 6 equals 27. 6 minus 39 equals 33, etc. Now, recall that Moore wrote, quote, the answer, however artfully it may or may not have been crafted, can only subtract from the experience we have in watching the episode. Now, the use of the word subtract is curious for such an accomplished writer when detract would have been a more appropriate choice. It sounds like a clue, one involving mathematics. It can only subtract from the experience we have in watching the episode. Well, the experience we have in watching the episodes is that it lasts 60 minutes, as broadcast with commercials. If we subtract from this experience 33 from 60, we get 27. So this is my ancient alien voice. Is it possible that Moore surreptitiously provided commentary that would validate the use of this integer sequence, which in turn leads us to the, quote, artfully crafted icosagonal shape? Now, the icosagon has some interesting properties, one of which is its relationship to the golden ratio phi. The golden ratio is approximately 1.618033989, and exactly the square root of 5 plus 1 divided by 2, or other representations include minus 2 times the sine of 666 degrees. In antiquity, the understanding of the golden ratio was considered sacred or forbidden knowledge, and it frequently appears in nature. So whenever it shows up in architecture or geometry or in an equation, the hair on the back of your neck should stand up, your head should cock to one side, your ears should perk up like a dog that just heard a high-pitched whistle. And here's the relation. The area of an icosagon is equal to 5 times r squared times phi minus 1, where r is the radius of the icosagon's circumcircle, and phi is the golden ratio. Now, this relation is probably not common knowledge except among geometricians or geometers and afterglow movie geeks. Another bizarre property of the icosagon is related to the echo Nazi swastika. As a polygonal path, the swastika is considered to be an irregular icosagon. If you trace the outline of a swastika, you would draw 20 left or right-handed 90-degree turns. Also, the icosagon is the cross-section of the big money wheel on The Price is Right. Yep, the one they spin at the Showcase Showdown. It's got 20 numbers on it, 5 cents to $1 in 5-cent increments. 3 players spin it at the first half of the show. 3 players spin it in the second half. Again, 3 and 3, icosagon. So in a burn after reading sense, which is a funny and insightful movie, what have we learned? Well, we put all these seemingly disparate pieces together after dismissing the frivolous and the trivial. The once fuzzy picture starts to come into focus. We must conclude that the number 33 was not a casual choice, but was indeed a clever and crafty clue to tangentially reveal these most shocking secrets. The Cylons are expert Nazi geometers who enjoy eating M&Ms while listening to vintage LP records and watching The Price is Right, especially the icosagonal big wheel spin during the showcase showdown. Reports by intelligent analysts suggest Bob Barker to be the likely number one Cylon, current QTH unknown, but believed to be hidden amongst an array of fabulous and exciting prizes and merchandise. Number of copies, 237, icosagon, 3327, OTE. I'm out. W5EBB.
Has left the building.
They worried about you, and then you brought it back, and now I'm worried about you. That was amazing. Icosacons. Okay. And pulling it all together in ways that I never thought about pulling it together while it was falling apart. Perfect. Okay. Let's see. KG5B said, WJ, you have comments on characterization. I know you're out there. I can hear the echoes. KG5B said, WKE5ICX. Go ahead.
This is KG5BCW. Oh, wow. Had to follow that. Well, I mean, oh, goodness. I'm characterization. We could go, really. Well, I don't know. If EBB went really on a tangent there, and hey, it was fun. I don't know that I can go on a tangent and have that much fun, or stick with the source and have that much fun or not. I will say this. I'm still trying to figure out what Mike was saying, because Fibonacci, I don't know. I need to actually do the numbers, the additions, but pretty sure I'm right. But anyway, you got, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34. So, I'm not sure where the 33 came from. Maybe you can subtract one of those ones and come up with it. I don't know. Okay. I'll actually say something. I thought that the actors did a pretty good job of portraying very tired people. That's primarily what the show is about. It was just, the tedium was involved in the whole plot line. Everybody's just kind of halfway there, like me and maybe everybody else other than that. And there's not much you can actually go into the character details. They did seem fairly, human, but character development, it's all really between the, I forgot his name, and his imaginary red dress gal buddy. And it's really more about seeing how that kind of scenario may have just started the imaginary person's scenario. So, I mean, I can't really fault them on any of that. Golly. Oh, I feel like I'm doing then David a disservice because it's like, how you follow up to that, or how you even refer to it, or even whatever, so I can even kind of remember whatever kind of half cockamamie, half perfect reason, whatever. I don't know. It wasn't really. I'm trying not to say anything too stupid, although I'm already kind of in a stupid thing. Okay. And I have just used my random what I'm trying to say is I need to go on and let people finish and let them do their final thoughts and all of that jazz, and I'm kind of tired. KG5BZW.
Comment?
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, well, Jay's right. If you keep going with the Fibonacci series, you get 8, 13, 21, 34. But if you just add up 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 8 plus 13, you get 33. Okay, now there's some magical significance in that, or maybe not. I don't know. It just adds up, and I've seen things like that up before. And like I said, the golden triangle that the Greeks used, like in the Parthenon and stuff, they're all kind of based on this for whatever reason. And don't ask me why. KG5B.
Thank you, Mike. I don't know how to respond to it. I'm not smart enough to do that. The reiterization of what is it? On it, I don't know. Reiterization and reintegration of different angles as they come in and create this wonderful helical pattern, or not even a helical, but a regressive helical pattern. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure that stuff out. But in any case, let's see. I've got comments on this, on characterization. Some of the things that are really interesting about the whole thing is that you have your major characters that were created in the original series, Starbuck and Boomer and what's the other one? Adamus, the son, who's Apollo. That's it. Couldn't remember his name in the whole thing. Those characters reside and resonate in this first episode. I thought it was quite interesting. Works out. What happens after Caprica is destroyed? That's a question that was never answered in the original series. It is here. We've got people who are left behind. We've got people who are on the Galactica, and they're trying to get the heck out of Dodge. There is a religious element to the whole thing, which I think is quite interesting, which is the Jews leaving Egypt. I mean, that is the central part of it. That was part of the original story, and that's what the music and the bombastic part of it, Stu Phillips and what he did with the first series is trying to say. And we had several actors that did that sort of thing back in the 50s and then into the 70s. So that was definitely a part of it. In this case, though, you're also trying to create personal stories. You're trying to create this element of personal loss, which had happened right after 9/11, a couple of years later. So the story had these biting commentaries and this religious undertone to it that really, really worked, I thought. Maybe needed the three-part series, miniseries to make that happen. To me, it didn't matter because I had seen the original series and the original.
Repeater. Timeout. 4:15 seconds. Timeout. Timer reset. Repeater enabled.
Oops, it's after 12 o'clock. I was probably babbling on. All I was going to say was that, and I'll finish up with this, I thought the series, first and foremost, picked up on some of the religious and human aspects of the thing. That was really important, I thought, from, you know, what do you do when everything's been pulled from you and you can pull in sort of the things that matter to you personally and then as the people. And of course, the whole part of the series was the exodus out of Egypt, and that was brought into this original, into this new series. So in any case, I don't want to get into any of that. There's plenty of political and religious parts to the series, and then the repartee that went with it I thought was quite fascinating. So I loved the series. I loved it quite a bit because it brought in both the technical aspects of it, the special effects and everything, made it more realistic and made it more interesting. The characterizations I thought were more in depth. 33 gave kind of a glimpse into that, and that would continue to be further expanded going forward. So I enjoyed the series. I may relaunch it as part of my personal favorites. The problem is that with monolithic series that run 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, to watch them over again is really difficult to do, especially with new television going and doing their thing and creating these new series like the Meladorian and even Star Trek Discovery and other series demand your attention. It's hard to do. All right, I'm going to do this since I embarrassingly timed out the repeater. I'll go ahead and ask if there are any final comments this evening. Anybody, anywhere, with any comments, please come down with your call sign.
KG5P.
W5EDD.
Okay, I got 3 out of possibly 4. I got WT9V, KG5P, W5EBB. There's another in there. Try again.
F5 HKN.
All right, I got KF5HKN. Okay, you're at you're number 4. Let me go to the top. WT9V. Michael, go ahead.
So, thank you. This is WT9V. So I read this little bit, and I thought it was interesting about the production of the episode. It says that the cast was incredibly gung-ho about the episode. Edward James Olmos, Admiral Adama, rallied people to try to get them to stay up for 4 days before filming. And at one point in the episode, you see him wince because he read and discovered that staying up for extended periods can give bad acid reflux. So yeah, that was pretty interesting that they were that involved in trying to look that dragged out authentically as opposed to just with makeup. 1790.
Well, thank you, Michael. And that's called the Konstantin Stanislavski method. And that's something when I used to do theater many years ago, yesterday, is an important part of the experience, the experiential part of it. Okay, KG5P. Mike, go ahead.
Okay, well, I was going to make one final comment. Obviously, I'm more interested by the Fibonacci series and by this TV series. But rabbits also breed in a pattern that can be described with the Fibonacci series. And that's my final comment, KG5P. And out and Roger and over and all that kind of stuff. I love that kind of talk.
Well, that's okay. I understand. You know, we go in so many different directions. It's hard to know exactly what's going to happen next and how and everything else. And it's like, cram it all in somehow. And we can go on and on. Well, when this net's over, we could go on and on. We'll see how it all works out. Thanks for your comments. I really do appreciate it. W5EBB, David, go ahead.
W5FC.
Well, I've obviously pounced on this particular episode, and this last section I won't say will be, I'll just say it'll be less verbose, not exactly brief. But as for the discussion about the icosagon golden ratio, Price is Right, etc., that was a thought experiment to show how a logical train of thought can quickly progress or digress to yield bogus conclusions if you're not on the right track in the first place. Even if your analysis is correct, you may not arrive at the correct conclusion if you're biased or constrained to select only from a limited set of allowable conclusions. Okay, everyone loves this topic, religious themes. That should be like a recurring section that we should have specific rounds for, religious themes. Well, 33 is the number of years King David ruled in Israel. Now, Roger D. Moore calls himself a recovering Catholic and agnostic. Agnostic meaning he doesn't know and therefore has the freedom to explore a variety of religious, spiritual, and philosophical themes, and he does that over the course of the 4 seasons of Battlestar Galactica. Let me reset. And turn up my power a little bit. The 13 tribes of Kobal, analogous to the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, monotheistic Cylons versus polytheistic humans, free will versus predestination, death and resurrection, corporeal versus spiritual, reality versus metaphysical. All of these are explored over the course of these 4 seasons. Now, in this episode, the atheistic, purely scientific Dr. Baltar is constantly challenged by his subconscious Cylon number 6. At the beginning, number 6 says, God has plans for you, Gaius. He has a plan for everything and everyone. Well, this is a paraphrase of Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts and plans that I have for you, says the Lord, thoughts and plans for welfare and peace and not for evil, to give you hope in the final outcome. Now, near the end of the episode, the Olympic carrier is racing toward the fleet, nukes armed, awaiting the president's decision whether to destroy it. And number 6 says to Baltar, God wants you to repent. It's not her decision, it's God's choice. He wants you to repent. It's either them or us, Thomas says. Number 6 says, accept his love and you will be saved. And Gaius says, I repent. And it's at that moment of repenting that the Olympic carrier was destroyed, thus saving Gaius and the fleet. Was it divine intervention or purely coincidental that at the same time the president issued the command to destroy it? I think the most relevant Bible verse, which either intentionally or unintentionally inspired this episode, is Revelations chapter 3, verse 3. So call to mind the lessons you received and heard, continually lay them to heart and obey them, and repent. In case you will not rouse yourselves and keep awake and watch, I will come upon you like a thief, and you will not know or suspect at what hour I will come. Ezekiel chapter 33 describes the watchman's duty to warn the people to repent and turn from wickedness, and Ezekiel 33 verses 30 through 33 may also have some relevance. W5 EBB.
All right, thank you, David. And yeah, well, this has, the whole series has religious undertones and overtones through the whole thing, and that was the whole point of it, I think, and that's what resonated in the original series, and that's what came out of it, even in the remake of it. I don't know. I thought it was fascinating, and it had to do with humankind and how they respond and react, both from a religious standpoint and also from an emotional and personal standpoint. That's what it was all about, and I think that's why that series resonates today. There's one more individual who checked in, KF5HKN. Whoever you are, welcome. Please come with your name and where you're transmitting from and your comments.
KF5HKN, this is Kevin, calling in from around Royal Naval. I have been thoroughly entertained by this conversation. It's one of my favorite series. I've watched it several times. I find it to be a great extrapolation of our past and future. And it's been fun listening in to my fellow humans and Cylons as they try and figure out what episode 33 is about. I will try and break down a few things I heard along the way. One person mentioned juggalos, which are from the ICP, or Insane Clown Posse, 3 ICP, which, coincidence, I don't think so. 3 being the Trinity, or onions, bell peppers, and celery, and the numerology, which only a Cylon would bring up because you would need the mind of a machine in order to understand that. And the golden ratio, golden, AU, A being 1 and U being 21. 21 non-divisible, except by 7 and 3. 7 and 3 non-divisible, except by themselves. 7 plus 3, 10 times 3, the Trinity, plus 3, the Trinity. Coincidence? I don't think so. 33. On the ship, this was a living museum. This was being decommissioned. Even Picard on Star Trek carries antiques. And as such, it is okay at that time period to have that. Now, someone else brought up Expo 67, 67, 67, 42, 42 minus 6, 6 letters and numbers, and Expo 67 is 35, 36, minus the Trinity is 33. Again, coincidence? I think not. And that's KF5, HKS, thank you.
All right, thank you, Kevin, and very interesting. I love this conversation. It's been a lot of fun this evening. We've had a little tongue-in-cheek and a lot of fun with all of this, so I've enjoyed the heck out of it, and I enjoyed this series tremendously. I thought that Ronald Moore did an excellent job. He's the guy from DS9, and by the way, he's the guy that's doing the latest series For All Mankind, which is over on, Apple streaming, which is a very nerdish series having to do with what if, with the Apollo program, what if things had not worked out exactly, and the Russians had gone to the moon. Moore has done a really good job with that, and the angst and some of the spirit that goes along with what do you do when you're number two? Well, you just keep on going, and I think that works really, really well. Give me a second here because I can't remember what the next, we're doing television series, pilots, doggone, I can't remember what it is. Hang on just a second. I'm going to give you that information right now because I can't remember. Oh, here it is. Hold on. Our next series, and our final series, is the first episode of 7 Days. Season 1, Episode 1 from 1998. This has to do with time travel, and this one has to do with trying to change world events. And apparently, I thought this series only lasted 1 season, but it actually lasted 4. So I think you get, I have not watched it since it was originally on the air, but if I remember correctly, it was pretty darn good. Pretty entertaining. Over on the Fox network back in 1998. So that'll be next week, our 5th Saturday, 7 days. I don't have a synopsis of it because I didn't write one up. So I'm going to say 7-3 to everybody. If you want to go ahead and continue to talk, that's fine by me. I might even stick around a little bit. Other folks, too. So this is KE5ICX, and I'm clear. Thanks, everybody, for a really good discussion this evening. We'll see you again on the other side of whatever the other side is. Time travel. Spaceships. Something else. KE5ICX clear.
E5P, Tom, you still there?
Oh yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Okay, 33 is also the number printed on all Rolling Rock beer labels. And I don't know if you listen to old-time radio or not. I think you said you didn't like it, but The Life of Riley, the radio show Life of Riley with William Bendix, one of their sponsors was Pabst Blue Ribbon beer, and they would see how the Pabst Blue Ribbon was 33 blended beers. I never could figure that one out.
Wait a minute. I gotta clear something up right now. I love old-time radio. We could go on and on about that. One of my favorite series was X-1 science fiction series. Ray Bradbury, the young writer that contributed significantly to the series. I remember The Saint. I remember The Whisperer. I remember The Shadow. I remember all of those. I even liked CBS Radio Mystery Theater. You're wrong. Wrong, I tell you. I love old-time radio. KE5ICX.
Oh, well, okay. I thought that you'd mentioned that all the stories are the same ones. But yeah, X-1 was also, let's see, before that was like Dimension. I forget, but yeah, I mean, those are some great shows, no doubt about it. And William Conrad was in a lot of them. Who was long before he was ever on TV. He was on radio for lots and lots of years. X-1, I think, was Dimension X. It was been connected for a number of years, and then they switched to X minus one. I've probably heard all of them, and they're all also available, at archive.org and some of those places.
We doubled. I was going to say that William Conrad was the original Marshall Dillon on radio, and he was excellent. In fact, he went on to try and get the TV version of the thing, and it didn't work out, but he did some television stills and that at, where the heck was it? It's still there over in Los Angeles. At any rate, he tried, didn't do it, but he was the guy, and Vincent Price was the original Saint on radio. And at any rate, a lot of radio programs went on to be television series back in the 50s and 60s. KE5ICX.
You're right, William Conrad. They didn't give him the job of Marshall Dillon on TV because he didn't look the part. He was just too fat or something, and so they got James Arness to do it. But yeah, he was the voice, and plus he was the voice of just so many radio shows. Also Jack Crucian, who was in a few of these sci-fi movies that we've done, but mostly he was on radio.
Oh, we lost Mike.
I'm still here. I just didn't give my call sign when I turned it over. KG5P.
No, somebody's playing games. In any case, you dropped out for reasons otherwise. I am a huge fan of old-time radio, and Fibber McGee and Molly and Jack Benny and all those shows were a lot of fun. And it only lasted a very short time, only a few years. It's like the Pony Express or something, and television came in and sucked all the oxygen out of the room. But I've got tons of programs that I've had through the years. And it was really great back in the 70s. And I mention this because it was a wonderful resurgence of radio, CBS Radio Mystery Theater with E.G. Marshall. And I think they did that like for 10 or 12 years. And people kept listening in. It was great.
That's true. Let me crank my power up a little bit here. There's something going on. I don't know what it is. Maybe some skip or something. I don't know. Sometimes you get that. Yeah, the CBS Radio Mystery Theater. I've got all those, actually. There was about over 1,000 of them. I've got them all on DVDs. Also, around the time in the late 70s, I guess, Sears had the Sears Radio Mystery Theater, which is very similar to the CBS Radio Mystery Theater, came out.